We're ready to go.
All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. And we're right up against President Trump right now. So we'll talk a little bit before we get Dr. Jerome on. But the first thing I'd like to do is thank everybody for all the help they've given us. I want to thank my good friend, John Goodman, who will come on and as a backup for one of our people today. We have a huge amount of speakers coming on today. Everybody will show up. I want to thank our podcasters, my good friend, Voice of the People, Dan Schmeriglio, Larry Courtcamp from OBBM Network, Dale Richardson from the Karis Report in Canada, SG Annan, Q News Report. The most important two people, Rumble, who put us on the front page and expanding our reach, the War Room, which will come on a little bit later after President Trump comes on. We will have the Hagman Report, Daniel Walker from Louisiana, Dan Nunn from California, Jonathan Alexander from Arizona, Sam Anthony, yournews.com, he was on last time, John Gordon, Truth, and many, many, many other people. So we're expanding this and we're getting more and more podcasters. If anybody has a podcaster that they would like us to get in touch with, go to stern1024gmail.com. And of course, we'd like you to go to the flagshirt.com. As you see, they are our sponsor today, and they have the new 250 shirts. The last time we were on at Trump International, hundreds and hundreds of people bought them, so we appreciate it. Anybody that has any information, go to stern1054gmail.com. Call me at 954-562-5225. Now, a couple of things we want to talk about. We're going to have another Zoom on the 30th of April, which is going to be our Precinct Project USA.org. Very important, very, very important. Precinct Project USA.org. This is an offshoot of Precinct Strategy. And why is this important? Well, we have one person in every state that will answer your questions, how to get involved. We have all kind of paraphernalia up there. We have Zooms. We have papers that you can look at. And very important, we want to get 200,000 new precinct committee men and committee women to join. And the reason is we have 400,000 slots in the Republican Party, only 200,000 people involved. So what does a precinct committee man and committee women do? They get candidates elected. They go to monthly meetings. They recruit other Republicans. They have people join clubs. They go door-to-door knocking. They support fundraising. You can see how important this is for our country. Now, Republicans are asleep. The Democrats stole our playbook. And I can tell you that they're working twice as hard as we are. So we need people to start to get up to get these candidates elected for the 2026 election to see how important it is. Now, again, we want to talk about a couple of things. We want to talk about the RNC, who's asked me to talk to you about poll watchers and poll workers. ProtectTheVote.com, very important. Go to ProtectTheVote.com if you want to become a precinct committee man, if you want to be a poll watcher or poll worker. All these things could be answered there. If you want to see any of our back precinct strategy or election integrity calls, go to Stern American Rumble. Very simple, Stern American Rumble. Okay, we're going to move on to our first speaker, who's been on many times. He doesn't need an introduction. Jerome Corsi, come on down.
Steve, it's great to be with you, and I'm excited to see that we have progress to report. The president issued an executive order just a few days ago. It was on March 31st. And this executive order did two very important things. Number one, it dictated to the states that the states have got to redo their voter registration lists so that only citizens are involved in voting. And this has to derive from compliance with federal lists of citizens. So there are the Social Security Administration maintains records in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security's systematic alien verification entitlements program. And the state scrubbing of their records has to comply with the information that's in those two more authoritative documentations of who is a citizen and who is not. Secondly, the executive order severely restricted mail-in voting, to put it much more in terms of the traditional absentee ballot kinds of qualifications, which are very strict. So in other words, the person is going to have to apply to get an absentee ballot. They're going to be very specifically issued and monitored. You're no longer going to be able to do blanket mail-in balloting and blanket harvesting of mail-in ballots. All these procedures, which are obviously designed to permit fraud, are now outlawed. Now, I want to amplify this by saying that, first of all, I think that the president is on solid grounds. The Supreme Court has already issued a decision which was overlooked. It was on January 14th, 2026. The decision is Michael J. Bost versus Illinois State Board of Elections. And in that, Illinois Congressman Michael Bost challenged an Illinois State Board of Elections rules that required officials to count mail-in ballots postmarked or certified no later than Election Day and received within 2 weeks of Election Day. What the Supreme Court decided was that it was inherently unfair. This was a 6-3 decision, which Justice Roberts wrote the opinion of the court. And they decided it was inherently unfair to extend the voting past Election Day in order to get enough time to get mail-in ballots that may be fraudulent produced, so that the election is swung in favor of the candidate that the fraudulent manipulators of the vote intend to win. Now, the importance of this case is that it granted standing to a congressman who was running for election to contest a state rule as being unfair prior to the election being held. Now, in 2020, we saw standing be one of the major reasons why the many cases were turned down by the Supreme Court. And the distinction is that in 2020, various petitioners were challenging a certified election. And the certification process by law was designed to affirm that the election had been fair. And so therefore, there was a very high bar to proving that a certified election was fraudulent. And the courts had a much stronger basis upon which to deny standing. What Justice Roberts has done is he's opened the door to, before an election has been held, or conceivably before it's been certified, that a challenge to the rules as being unfair is legitimate and the courts will hear it. So in other words, Justice Roberts has already ruled out that states might just extend the counting of votes arbitrarily as long as they want to go. Now, I don't think that, and by the way, many of the challenges that are being filed against this executive order are going to argue that the states under the Constitution have the primacy to determine the rules for presidential elections. And while that's true, there's also numerous court decisions, including this Bost v. Illinois State Board of Elections, which indicate clearly that the states cannot promulgate rules that violate federal requirements. And so therefore, federal requirements take a precedence over state rules that, for instance, would allow non-citizens to vote, or would extend the counting, or would apply mail-in ballots indiscriminately, just sending them out to large numbers of people, which is an invitation for fraud. So I think those challenges that the states are going to make are going to be hard for the states to win. Now, I want to conclude with a couple of more points. Number one, I don't think this is the last executive order we're going to get. I think President Trump is very strategically laying out his plans. There was an executive order going back to last year that gave the states a certain amount of time to make these changes on their own. And now this new executive order that came down March 31st is saying you will do the following. Only citizens can be allowed to vote, and mail-in balloting will be restricted. I believe the next executive order, President Trump will say that under Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief. And the current executive order, March 31st, was under Article 2 powers, but not under the clause for commander-in-chief. That there is sufficient evidence that communist China interfered and did rig or effect to Biden's benefit the voting in the 2020 election. And since a foreign nation is involved in penetrating our state election system, President Trump can exercise the powers of commander-in-chief to say that these rules will be followed. Plus, I believe the issuance of paper ballots and the saying that the machines cannot be used in the 2026 midterm election or thereafter, because the machines inherently allow vote switching. And even from the casting of the vote to the tabulation of the vote, in that interval, there's no paper ballot issued and the vote can be switched. So I think President Trump is saving his powder for that one last executive order, which will come much closer to the election. Finally, some 30 states now are under investigation by the Department of Justice because they've either refused to submit their state voter registration lists to be scrutinized by the federal government to see if, in fact, they are only allowing citizens to vote. And the Department of Justice is taking this extremely seriously. The states will have to create new voter registration forms or roles, as we demonstrated in gods5stones.com, or 501c3, and Andrew Paquette's research. The state voter registration systems that are in effect today have algorithms in them that permit the creation of millions of false voters, non-citizens and dead and et cetera, that are allowed to be hidden in the database and get legitimate state IDs that can be used in fraudulent schemes. Unless the states are required to create new voter registration files, the algorithms will remain. And I think President Trump is aware of this. Peter Tickton has been doing exceptional work as the president's attorney, making sure the president is aware of these issues. President Trump has been briefed by Peter Tickton of the issues that are remaining to be decided by executive order. And I think the president has decided that even if the SAFE Act does not pass, it's going to be made clear that the Democrats can only win elections by cheating and stealing. The Democrats have a vested interest in maximizing the number of non-citizens who are in the United States, allowing them to vote through illegal schemes in order to steal elections. President Trump has said repeatedly, Democrats can only win elections if they steal them. And I believe the last executive order is going to make it very, very difficult for the states to steal elections. Finally, I applaud the efforts to get more voter registration watchers. These precinct projects are extremely important. We must be vigilant in watching the actual elections. We cannot assume that we're going to win. This is the most important issue we face. If the Democrats win control of the House and Senate, President Trump will most certainly face impeachment the day after the election is certified. And if the Democrats win in both House and Senate, President Trump and Vice President Vance will be convicted, thrown out of office, and probably criminally prosecuted. So in other words, this is now a pure power play by the Democrats. We have to be aware of it. We have to support the president in these efforts. And I applaud what the administration has done. I applaud Peter Tickton for the work he has done to support these efforts. I applaud Andrew Paquette for having found out the issue to begin with. And I applaud Steve Stern for having the continued vigilance to monitor with these forums the election integrity process right up until the moment we vote and then continuing thereafter. It's the only way we can preserve the republic. There is no more important issue right now than voter integrity. As much as I applaud the president and his conduct of the war with Iran, fundamental to our freedoms is voter integrity, and we must follow the president and support him in these efforts being taken to make sure we do not get the cheating that has occurred in past elections by Democrats who have won election only by fraud. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Dr. Corsi. So again, after every speaker, we're going to bring this up, precinctprojectusa.org. I have spent hours and hours and days on this. So important. Please sign up. You will get a confirmation once you signed up. Take a look at the precinctprojectusa.org. We are going to make sure that anybody needs information will be called back, emailed back. Everybody will be answered. Very important. Our next guest is Captain Seth Keshel. He has the top book, #1 on Amazon, American War on Election Corruption. Seth, come on down. You unmuted?
Seth, go ahead and unmute.
All right, I'm good.
Yep.
Thank you, Steve and Raj, for having me back on the show. Good to see everybody in one place. Obviously, it's a big year for everybody. We need to first off narrow our focus to what a good objective actually entails. There's 4 main Senate races everybody's watching. We're talking about 2 Republican held seats in North Carolina and in Maine, and then you have 2 Democrat held seats in Georgia and Michigan. And now lately the New Hampshire seat is potentially come into play. I think that the biggest play right now to take power away from the people is to try to run an inside straight through Virginia with the Redistricting Act to take a narrow majority in the House. I don't think either party has a big track on a large majority. I think the Democrats today would be 75-25 likely to win the House. And that does include the laws in the various states that allow for the cheating to take place. So 39 House seats, according to what my numbers detect, are going to decide who has the majority. Now, I was asked by Steve to come in and talk about my book, so that's what I'm going to do. This has been an interesting PR tool I have found. The entire U.S. Congress, thanks to a patriot in Pennsylvania, has a copy of the book, The American War on Election Corruption, which I think, fortunately, thanks to great support, is going to be the preeminent book on election corruption in the Trump era. It weaves the story of exactly what you guys are doing, which is involving your time, which is your most precious resource, in trying to save this country. So how I got pulled into this, but also lays out the foundation of the cheating, like Dr. Corsi just described, the corruption of the voter rolls, the expansion of the mail-in voting, the use of software and technology with no ability to perform functioning audits, and then of course the media narrative, which allows for elections to be ripped off. So I believe that Newt Gingrich had it right when he said that elections are not stolen, they're rigged. And of course, the passage of various state laws is why a lot of you, I see in the comments, are very depressed about your states, because the laws do rig the states. So I'm going to be short today. The American War on Election Corruption, paperback, hardcover, audio recorded by yours truly, and on ebook. And if you want to have me for an event to raise awareness about election issues or speak alongside candidates, you can reach me at skeshel@protonmail.com. All right, Steve, unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have.
Yes,
and
I
can
do,
yield
Seth.
back some time.
Could you give us a little the importance on the states that are turning more Republican, and why is that important?
So I measure voter registration by party. That is the most accurate long-term predictor of the direction of your state. So if any of you live in a former red state like Colorado or Virginia, Virginia doesn't register by party, but let's take a state like Colorado that used to be Republican and it's since flipped. You could have seen that coming by understanding the trend in voter registration. So voter registration by party went 29 for 30 in the last election in the 30 states that register Republicans and Democrats, in aligning with the shift in the presidential margin. The only miss was actually Colorado, which was the only state that shifted left, but it ran 2 points right from 2020 in the margin because there's a lot less ballot stuffing going on. So 28 out of 30 states right now since the 2024 election are either more Republican or less Democrat than they were in the 2024 election. So the 2 exceptions are New York State. And the reason that is because you had a primary where everybody goes and registers Democrat to figure out which least crappy Democrat is going to be the nominee. And then and that's already started to trick back towards the Republican side by about 17,000 in the last update. So by the next election, New York will probably join New Jersey and become more Republican than it was in 2024. And then you have the other one running left, which is Utah. Utah doesn't really have anywhere to go but down because it's so overwhelmingly Republican. And you have a shift of the LDS church happening right now away from the Republican Party in certain numbers. So 28 out of 30 states are to the right of where they were in registration in November of 2024. So the midterms are what they are. They go against the president's party. 20 out of 23 times since 1934, the president's party has lost seats. This is why, not to be a negative guy, but if we don't have a realistic understanding of how elections track, then we're not going to even pick the right seats to defend. So there's certain states we need to go on offense in, like Ohio. There's other states like Pennsylvania or Arizona we need to be on defense in when it comes to U.S. House races. So long-term Republican outlook is still good. 2026 outlook varies. But if you get your state red enough, like you have in Florida, they're not going to flip Florida statewide. They're not going to flip the U.S. House seats. So that stuff does matter, but it is a long-term strategic objective. And special elections, off-year elections, and midterms are difficult, and they always have been.
So tell everybody how to reach and get involved on your site. You have one of the best informational sites that I've ever seen, and I think we need more people to go on if they want to get to you. How do they get to you?
Well, the website he's talking about is my Substack. It's a bestseller in U.S. politics. It's captaink.us, captaink.us. And if you want to support me there, that's fine. If you want a 3-month preview, I'll give you a 3-month preview. Just email me over at skeshel@protonmail.com and talk about books, talk about the website. That's fine. Or any overall strategy, of course, I'm game for that. So thank you, Steve, and thank you for what you do every month.
So what states would you say are most important to try to hold here in this next election?
The 4 Senate races that are most important would be North Carolina. North Carolina is the most likely Republican Senate seat to get flipped. If they only flipped one seat, I would put all my money on North Carolina. I feel like Susan Collins is going to win in Maine. Now, a lot of us, grassroots folks don't care much for Susan Collins, and that's understandable, but she's the only Republican to run margins strong enough in the southern portion of Maine to win the state. So that is what it is. And then you have Georgia, John Ossoff running for re-election. It's going to be a very tough race. And then you have Michigan. Mike Rogers might have a chance depending on who the Dems nominate, but Michigan, of course, is one of the nationwide capitals of election fraud. Then you have the U.S. House races. I've got 39 seats that I think are going to be playable. I don't think either party has a high ceiling or a low floor. I can't see the Republicans losing the House and having 193 seats. I think that the winner is going to have 220 to 229, a pretty narrow majority. If Virginia manages to pass their redistricting thing, I think it's almost impossible for the GOP to hold the House. Sad to say that. But Pennsylvania is a good example. There are 4 seats that I think are playable, and all 4 are Republican defenses. Okay, then you have states like Texas where they cut the map up. I see 3 for sure flips and then 2 possible flips. And Ohio, same thing. I think that the GOP can pick up 3 seats without the risk of losing any. And I've got a complete list of that. Should anybody need to email me, I'll talk about it.
What do you see in California?
California looks like it's got 44 solid Democrat seats at this point, which is up 1 from where they are right now. 4 solid Republican and then 4 playable seats where I think the Republicans could win. But California is definitely going for a 48-4 Democrat split.
So in your estimation, how are we going to get the people to come out to vote? That's going to be the most important thing. We see that it looks like they're going to get rid of the legal aliens voting. I'm sure that if that happens, there's going to be a different play on some of these elections, especially California, where they have a lot of legal aliens voting. Texas, New York, Florida, we still have illegals here. Give us a little opinion how you think that we can, do something to help to win some of these seats.
Well, I think Dr. Corsi already stole my thunder on this. I've never really been a big believer that illegals are voting in large numbers. I think they're being voted for. They wind up on the voter rolls through automatic voter registration, and then the more mail-in ballots you have, and the more people you have to cycle ballots and harvest ballots, that's how their votes get cast, because, of course, we have a secret ballot. And we have no real audits that are going to identify any sort of fraud like this until long after we could have done something about it. So the first step of this is to spot where the resources have to go. John Cornyn just proved it in the Texas primary last month that spending money does move votes. I mean, he spent $60 million and Paxton underperformed by anywhere from 7 to 10 points based on what we're looking at there. So understanding the laws in various states, I think, allows me to give up on certain seats that are not winnable in a 2026 midterm cycle and might be winnable in 2028. But I think that the first step is for us to have influence with the big dollars where they're going, because it's a huge mistake to put 435 congressional seats on the budget. There's 396 out of 435 that I think are reliably red or reliably blue this cycle. And if we can give that 8 or 9% that's going to decide it, where the funds are, and put the, I don't like it any more than you do, but certain states with a lot of mail-in ballots employ these ballot chasers to try to match out ballot counts until we get a better solution. The president's executive order is going to be challenged for sure. It's going to be struck down. So I think his play is to put it in front of the Supreme Court to expedite that. I think the Supreme Court might be the saving grace for election reform in this country. They seem like they're really moving away from the late counted mail-in ballots, and that is going to give us legal ground to challenge on the front end with the massive early voting windows. The reason Pennsylvania is even remotely competitive right now is because they have 7 weeks of early voting, which is the mail ballot collection period. And of course, the Republicans don't vote by mail. And you have 1 day. So that's the biggest things to look out for right now. I think that allows us to narrow it down. Florida, for example, I don't see any Republican held House seats that would flip in an election in Florida. Anna Paulina Luna had the closest race, and it was 9.5 points, and she's solid in there too. So I think we need to have a little bit of intelligence about where we really need to spend the money to impact the very narrow opportunity to hold the House majority.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all that information. You are terrific.
Thank
Next
you, Steve.
from Georgia is Garland Favorito. I'm going to tell you everything that's happening in Georgia. We appreciate him coming down. Can you unmute him?
Go ahead,
I am
Garland. You're up.
unmuted. I am unmuted. Thank you, Steve and Raj. It's great to be.
Garland, we can't hear you. Go ahead.
You got a technical problem?
Could be. Shall we go to the next speaker while Garland is sorting it out and come back to Garland?
Yeah, go ahead. Put John Goodman on.
Okay, stand by, John. Stand by.
While Garland, I'm going to call Garland, and while he's fixing his information, we'll get John Goodman on. Goodman is a good friend of mine, does a lot of research. Is he on there?
Yes, John's ready to go. Go ahead, John.
All right, Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, Dr. Corsi talked about the executive order just released by President Trump and that he thinks it'll hold in the Supreme Court. I wanted to review with everyone a very widely unknown 1995 Supreme Court ruling that's titled Term Limits versus Thornton. And the Supreme Court already addressed states' powers when it comes to elections. This concerned term limits out of Arkansas. And the Supreme Court in 1995, which was a 5-4 Democrat majority Supreme Court, said, quote, the following concerning states' rights or states' powers over elections. They says, the states cannot go beyond protection of the integrity and regularity of the election process and instead operate to disadvantage a particular class of candidates. And then they went on and said more. As everyone on this call knows, the Democrats hide behind the elections clause, which is Article 1, Section 4, that says the states control elections on time, place, and manner. Here's what the Supreme Court had to say about that in 1995. The framers understood the elections clause as a grant of authority to issue procedural regulations and not as a source of power to dictate electoral outcomes, to favor or disfavor a certain class of candidates, or to evade constitutional restraints. Now, this is from the Supreme Court, and only once in the history of the Supreme Court since 1789 has a current Supreme Court overruled a prior Supreme Court, and that was, of course, Roe v. Wade. So I communicate with Dr. Corsi, and I'll be talking to Dr. Corsi. Some other top Republicans already know about this because I shared it with them. And it is not only constitutionally legal, but it's Supreme Court ruling legal. And also, the love of it is that Dr. Corsi told you there would be other EOs coming out with elections. This same defense fits for every single one of them. Hand count paper ballots, goodbye voting machines, etc. The last topic I'll share quickly is Iran. This war we are in because of the last two Democrat presidents. Barack Obama sent plane loads of billions of dollars to a terrorist country. Donald Trump undid it in 2019 by telling the world anyone that buys oil from Iran cannot do business with the US. And it worked, and Iran was going broke and coming to negotiate in early 2020 when COVID hit. Also, President Trump, near the end of his first term, froze $500 million of Iranian assets. Well, in the summer of 2021, Joe Biden released that $500 million back to Iran. They started their nuclear enrichment of uranium at big time pace. They also bought a ton of weapons with that money. We had October 7th Israel attack. And what's really bad is that a lot of the weapons they're using against our troops right now, they bought with the money that these two presidents released back to them. The cash refunds of Obama and Biden have propped Iran back up and back to life on several different occasions. To end my presentation on a positive note, we've all sang God Bless America. We've all sang it. It was originally sang in 1943. Irving Berlin composed it, and Kate Smith sang it. It debuted in 1943. She rarely sang it when she made appearances, but in 1965, she gave the best stirring ever rendition of God Bless America at the Hollywood Palace Theater. And I'd like to end my time by playing that for you right now. Thank you, everyone.
From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, white with
Thank you, John. Next up, we'll be back is Garland Favorito again with his wife. Can we get him on?
Yes, go ahead, Garland. And Tamara, you can unmute.
Okay,
And
I'm
if you-
unmuted.
Great. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so what we'd like to talk about today are three things. First, the Georgia State legislative session that just ended last Thursday night. Our federal lawsuit against the Election Assistance Commission to vacate certification of the Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 and the Fulton County versus FBI lawsuit. So first up, the Georgia State legislative session. So it ended last Thursday night, and we had two really good election integrity bills going into the last day of session, and one that was not good. It was basically a vendor bill setting up purchase of a new system. And it turned out that none of those bills were passed. So we're very glad the Senate stuck to their belief that we should go to hand-marked paper ballots instead of the ballot marking device with the QR code. And they did not pass this vendor bill that the House had handed them, but then neither did the really good election bills get passed. So where that leaves Georgia is there is a law on the books. It was passed in 2024 that said as of July 1st of 2026, the QR code on the ballots is banned. So we are moving towards our general election in November without a legal way to vote because our Secretary of State has done nothing to prepare Georgia to not vote on the BMDs that have the QR code. So we believe what is coming is a special session from the legislature, probably in June after our primaries are May 19th, and any runoffs would be in early June. So we think they would have the legislative session, special session, following those runoffs. And we intend to be prepared to hand them what we're going to call the People's Bill, which will make sure that we have hand-marked paper ballots, and any system that they choose to purchase will have to meet the critical infrastructure guidelines. So it can't be foreign made, it can't be remotely accessible, and it cannot have proprietary software. So we may be heading for a showdown because it seems like the governor is not in our camp for that. But we'll make sure that they hear from us. So the second item we wanted to mention today, and I believe we may have talked about this one other time on your show, Steve, is that we, Voter GA, and some other patriots have filed a federal lawsuit against the U.S. Election Assistance Commission because they certified the Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5, which is the one that Georgia uses, in 2019, and it never should have been. It did not meet the criteria for having passwords. There are hard-coded passwords that are sent out with that system that have never been changed. And also there are encryption keys that are stored in plain text. Those are violations of really standards that go back as far as 1984. So this would be one way that we can make sure that Georgia can't continue voting on this election system, because we have in Georgia law that any system they use must be certified by the Election Assistance Commission. We are hoping to have a hearing on that next month. So that's where that stands right now. And then number 3 is the Fulton County ballot case, where the FBI came in and seized the ballots under a search warrant, and Fulton County sued them to get those ballots back. So I'm going to turn this over to Garland to talk about that.
Great. All right. Thanks, Tamara. So I've had some problem with the internet up there, and she's on the same one. It works fine. So we'll have to figure that out later. But anyway, just a couple of points on January the 28th. We had I'm sorry, 20. Well, January 28th, we had the that was when they got the ballots.
Oh, yes.
Fulton County actually executed a search warrant. And the FBI executed a search warrant on the Fulton County warehouse. I know y'all are familiar with that. Fulton County then turned around and filed a claim that the FBI violated their constitutional rights. Now, this is ridiculous because the plaintiffs in this lawsuit, 3 of them are government agencies and 2 of them are officials operating in their official capacity. So they have no constitutional rights because, as you know, constitutional rights are reserved for United States citizens, not for government agencies and government officials. So they, on March 20th, the DOJ filed a beautiful brief that explained all this and how frivolous their lawsuit is. In addition, these plaintiffs, they cannot even meet, even if they had standing, they can't meet the 4-part test for criminal procedure complaint for violations. If they just fail on every part, and they would have to meet all 4 parts. Nevertheless, within 2 hours after the DOJ brief was submitted on March 20th, the court ordered an evidentiary hearing that really should have never been ordered. So it didn't even look like the court had read the DOJ's brief before they ordered it. We had the—
Garland, 1 minute, Garland, 1 minute.
Thank you. So we had the case, and there was about callous disregard. The FBI showed callous disregard, and that was the case was on March the 27th. And they did not, because first of all, the FBI cited 5 areas of probable cause, not just one. That was not callous disregard. They got a magistrate judge to issue a search warrant. Then they refined that search warrant only for the clerk's area. Again, very precise and methodical about what they did. And they didn't break into the warehouse, they didn't harm anyone. And Fulton County has to show injury and need. The highlight of the whole trial was that the court, the DOJ showed 2 videos. One where the elections director said that they can just make paper airplanes out of the ballot, all they care. And the other one was the clerk said that they requested permission to destroy the ballots in 2024. So they don't need them. There was no harm. And we're expecting a ruling that hopefully will be favorable to the DOJ shortly.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next guest, Matt Meck, a host podcast, election integrity expert in Nevada. Come on down, Matt, and a good friend.
Hey, Steve, thank you for having me. And briefly, 5 minutes, and I'll get on to folks who are much more important than I am on this call. What we did is, I think I told you, since February of 21, we started a coalition. I know we've been on Bannon several times. Usually I follow you a lot on there. It's just called the Coalition, and it ranges from Hawaii to Massachusetts, Alaska to Texas. Election officials, secretaries of state, everyday men and women who are just fighting for election integrity, including Professor Clements, Tim Canova there in your beautiful state of Florida, Steve. And what we are is a network of networks, because how do you feed a centralized hierarchical system? For those who are in the military, you understand network-centric warfare. For those who don't, haven't been in the military, great book, Starfish and the Spider. So we are organized in a network fashion to educate people and empower people. What I like to do also is let folks know 15 through 17 June out here in Las Vegas at the Ahern Hotel. It's a fraud fighters summit. Folks like James O'Keefe, Nick Shirley, Ed Griffiths from Creature from Jekyll Island will remote in and present as well. We're going to have folks identifying all the fraud, bond fraud, property tax fraud going across the country. And as we conclude with folks like Mark Cook, Professor Clements, Martine Rodil, one of the people with Gary Bernson, who's briefed Tulsi and DOJ, briefing how the election fraud or the lack of security in our elections is the predicate for all of this. And would love to have you all come. If anybody wants to speak, let me know. You can go to fraudfightersummit.us, fraudfightersummit.us, if you're interested. And Garland, much like with you and Mike Lindell and Garland Favorito, we work together as a coalition, as a team. And through all of your inputs, Garland's especially, Clemence's and others, we put up last April a 17-page document to the White House on what we think needs to be done for following the EOs with the election ecosystem. And I think we're seeing him do that, President Trump. So Steve, thank you for the time. Always glad to help and glad for your help and friendship.
You got it. Next up is Gary Meyers from the Gary Meyers Report. One thing that he and I are doing, we're going to have a Zoom in May with all the young people from around the country because we need to get them involved with the YRs. We're going to have a big YR on today from Maine, and that's the start of trying to understand why young people aren't getting involved. So Gary, come on down.
Gary, go ahead and unmute. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Steve and everybody. These are tough times. To give you, and we're up against so much. One of the issues, you've heard of Trump derangement syndrome, obviously. It is so bad that there's an individual I know whose father headed a government agency in Iran. And he saw his father executed on television by the current regime. But his hatred for Trump is so bad that he can't even think of anything. He can't think of positive things that Trump is doing in the Iranian situation, let alone that it began 47 years ago. Anyway, today's subject is about the very much needed rehabilitation of our election rules and the positive impact that the Save America Act and the MEGA Act will have on restoring faith in our election system. To paraphrase Ben Franklin's challenge, we have given you a republic if you can keep it. Well, now we must fight to keep it. Steve, can I do I want to do a share?
Yes, click on the green share button on the bottom of your screen and you can share your screen.
In September 2025, we did a survey of election rules for all 50 states, including the District of Columbia and 36 other countries. The study was conducted by more than 24 people in different parts of the world on all 5 continents. And what we did is we studied 17 risk variables for elections. The results were not pretty. Basically, using a scoring system of A to F, prior to the election, where we stand now, the U.S. ranked had 59.8% compared to the average of the rest of the world, which was 81, which had basically a C plus or B minus in 81. The point is, we weren't even that good. We got that score that high because virtually every state in the union requires citizenship-only voting, but only one state really does a good job of verifying it. If we do pass the SAVE Act and the MEGA Act, our score would go up to about 81.1. We'd be on a par with the rest of the world. To give you an idea, countries that are doing better than we are include Kenya, Mexico, Chile, Ghana, Italy. Even South Africa is doing better. And the curious thing is, I know South Africans, white South Africans, and they believe in their election system. It's a terrible thing that we have, and we are the only country that has that allows the honor system to be any part of our election system. And we're the only country, well, Sweden is, I think, is an exception, that takes in ballots after election day, and they only do it for 2 or 3 days. It is just crazy. In terms of where we stand today, all of these states in red are failing. The worst being Nevada. Mississippi was up there at 81, but it's a very poor situation. If we pass the SAVE Act, there'll be no failures. Here we have a slew. We have 27 states that failed, 20 that have Ds, which is pathetic. If we pass the SAVE Act and the MEGA Act, the whole thing gets greatly improved, significantly improved. This is what we have to do. In March of 20, we did this update of the impact of the SAVE Act in March of 2026, and we're spreading it around. We're going to be releasing this survey to all the congressmen and senators in the US over the next 2 days. This is what we have to do. The people need to know what the issues are. I don't think anybody realizes, or very few people realize, just how bad we stand compared to the rest of the world. The key issues are, as we know, mail ballots. Almost no one else in the world uses them. Lack of voter ID. We're one of the very, very few. There's no one else that uses them. And failure to prove citizenship is verboten. It's in general, the U.S. lags behind the rest of the world. So passage of these acts, or getting an EO is what is critical for preserving our representative form of government. The idea that we have here, anyone who wants to contact me, you can look at our website. You can download this information from the website. You can contact me directly at Gary at Meyers-group.com, and we'll give you this information so you can spread it around and use it. Copies of the original report as well as the update are available. And our next efforts is what we're doing is we will be updating the original survey, and we're also reaching out to students throughout the US and elsewhere. Our current student program includes students at the London School of Economics, which has been going on for 2 years now. We have students at Northwestern University and Mississippi State University, and we're looking for more students in different parts of the
Now,
US.
what's wrong?
Say again?
All
That's
right,
back-
I'll be down in just a minute.
That's background.
Okay.
Raj, you want to get him off? That's Favorito.
Copy that.
If anyone would like to participate, contact us directly. The student program that we're doing, we think, is exceedingly important. And the election integrity efforts that we're doing in this country is impacting the rest of the world. It's impacting the UK. It's impacting Hungary. It's impacting the entire world because there's a spirit that we have in our country of recovering our republic and in letting the people's voice be heard. And this is why the students are important, not just here, but elsewhere. And one of the things that we're doing toward that end is we are gathering, as I said, we're using our students and we're doing surveys on different questions to compare and contrast notes as to what the young people are thinking. And we're finding that there's a very significant commonality of what they're thinking, what they want, and a tremendous lack of information. Also, we'll have a June gathering on June 7th, 8th, and 9th in the Chicago area, where we'll be dealing with election integrity issues and how the election integrity movement is impacting other parts of the world. And, you know, as I said, as an example, what's going on in the UK with the Restore UK movement is taking part of its lead from Charlie Kirk and from our election integrity movement. That they're concerned with the same things we are: a two-tiered justice system, ending public waste from destructive illegal immigration, and having people accountable, and basically maintaining the history and culture of their respective countries. The fights that they're fighting over there are the same fights we're fighting over here. Anybody have any questions?
Well, they don't ask questions, but give them a little bit of a way that they can get to you. And what
Okay,
what exactly is your report? What does it entail?
our report, we have been doing this for 45 years. We have hands-on experts in 40 countries that are supplying us information. We don't have any academics. While some of our people may be teaching, at this time, they've all been hands-on experts in the field. And what we are doing is we ask the tough questions, and if we have a method of operating. If people disagree, if two subject experts disagree on a conclusion, rather than fighting it out to prove that they're right, what we do is the assumption is that they are intelligent, well-informed, and well-intended. Therefore, the critical issue isn't who is right, it's what is right. And so we ask the question, why did they disagree? What are one or both of them missing? And we are handling every single question along those lines. As I said, we're having our third gathering after 45 years this June. And we're even having some people coming in, some significant people from Ukraine and from Russia to talk about, they'll be in the same room to talk about possible back channel discussions. This is what we do. We've been doing this for 45 years. If you want to know the backstory on things long before you may hear it elsewhere, contact us.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, by the way, to that one person who put up the thing that the London School of Economics cannot be trusted, that's probably true. However, there are intelligent students over there who are conservative, and the conservative students there are fighting the same fights that the conservative students are fighting over here, and we're trying to help them all.
Thank you very much, Gary. Our next will be Dr. John Eastman. Is he on there?
He is, stand by.
All right, unmute.
Go ahead, Dr. Eastman.
Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Somebody needs to let me know what it is you want me to talk about, because I don't think I'm sorry, I've got so many things going on. What are we talking about?
Well, so election security, you're going to give us some background on what you're doing with Cleveland and with everybody else on how you're helping us.
Sure. All right. Very good. So look, I think one of the most important things to realize is we are engaged. I mean, these are no longer political opponents on the other side of us. These are political enemies. They are trying to destroy the country, and anybody that dares to challenge the left-wing uniparty globalist state. That's why things like the SAVE Act are so important. We now have documented evidence that the machines have been manipulated to alter election results. We've got that evidence out of Mesa County, Colorado, and poor Tina Peters is still in prison for it. We've got it out of Antrim County, Michigan. We've got it out of several counties of Georgia with the forensic audits have identified flipped votes. And most recently, we have it out of Tarrant County, Texas, in the special election that was held at the end of January. And what they discovered is somebody, whether an inside malicious actor or an outside hacker, created ghost voting IDs based on actual voter IDs. And they did it by adding decimal numbers to the existing voter IDs. And the significance of that will become clear in a moment. They then voted those ghost IDs, and over 4,000 in one precinct or one county. I forget what the geographic scope was, 4,000, and that affected the outcome of the election. The reason we know this is the voter rolls got transmitted in between the time the malicious ghost records were created and when they were deleted. And the reason the decimal points is significant is you can then run in 30 seconds a global order saying delete all non-integer voter ID numbers, and they're mass deleted. But the voter file was inadvertently sent out in between those two events happening. And therefore, we've got documented proof that phony voter IDs were created, very sophisticated, with these decimal point voter IDs, that they were voted and then they were deleted. A formal complaint has been filed with the Texas Attorney General. But one suspects this is going on much more broadly. It parallels something we saw or thought we saw back in Michigan, I believe, through the 2020 election, where there was a different kind of sophisticated, almost like string theory analysis, where voter IDs were being run in segments so that you could identify where the false ones were without ever, without a separate column saying this is a false one. Just in the way the non-sequential addition of voter IDs was being done. So that tells me that we are dealing with very sophisticated intelligence action, probably by state actors, and therefore probably by enemies, foreign enemies of the United States. The fact that this stuff isn't being investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent possible is deeply troubling to me, because it means that some folks on our side, or purportedly on our side, are deliberately doing block and tackle. But we need to get to the bottom of this. And I know Mike Lindell's on the call. I saw his name pop up a minute ago, and he's long been on the bandwagon for saying we got to get rid of these machines. But this is, I think, the hardest evidence we've had of the problematic nature of these machines. But it tells us just what we've all known a long time ago. The trick is not manipulating the machines. The trick that it took so long to develop was how to manipulate it in a way that all the paper trail and evidence that it had been manipulated are no longer available to us. And that's why this Tarrant County, Texas issue is so important, because we got the goods before the second step, eliminating the evidence, occurred. We've seen it elsewhere. We've seen logs altered. We've seen logs shut off. We've seen things overwritten, but we didn't have what had occurred that led to those logs being altered. Now we've got it with Texas, and man, we really need that pursued like nothing else. Let me see if anybody has any questions or about that.
Thank you very much for that. Could you just reiterate how people can get in touch with you?
Sure. My email is jeastman@claremont.org. That's CLAREMONT.org.
Thank you very much.
Twitter, of course, if you want to follow me, Dr. John Eastman on Twitter.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. Next up is my good friend, Mike Lindell, running for governor of Minnesota. Go, Mike.
Hello, everybody. And you can all check it out, MikeLindellGov.com, MikeLindellGov.com. You guys, I'm actually heading back to Minnesota today. I've been out doing fundraise, but now we're taking that. We're going to be using that to win Minnesota. I'm going to be doing rallies and town halls all over Minnesota. Just I'm going to kind of mimic exactly what the president did when the media tried to block him. If me running for governor, you wouldn't even know I'm running in Minnesota, because the fake news media, the horrible Minneapolis Star and Tribune, they don't even attack me anymore, because they know I've used them for so long to get the word out, everybody. But it was, John was just saying there, when we talk about our election and voting machines and stuff, you guys, we've had all this for 5 years. We've had it, there's only one truth, everybody. And with cast vote records and everything, they all point to the same thing, okay? Computer manipulation in our elections, and we've got to get rid of these, and having great breakthroughs like he was just telling you there in Texas. You guys, where are we at now that we weren't 5 years ago? Our voices are bigger. This Steve, what you got going here, just this alone. You guys, we have to get the word out of the good things, the breakthroughs. Remember, we spent 5 years breaking through the biggest cover-up of the biggest crime ever, trying to take our country without firing a shot. So we've already broke through that. Now it's, hey, how do we get rid of them once and for all? And we've got to keep, you got to keep going. It's not an insurmountable task. 132 countries have built electronic voting machine, and they've done it for a reason. I was just at CPAC, everybody. And by the way, CPAC endorsed me in my governor run in Minnesota. But there was two interesting things that happened there, everybody. One is I kept being followed by all these South Koreans. They're following me all around the place going, hey, you got to meet this guy. You got to meet this guy. And And here, I finally said, okay, I'll meet the guy. I'll put him on Lindell TV. Well, he's the former prime minister of South Korea. He's like the Mike Lindell of South Korea. I had an interpreter. This was over an hour show. You can see it on lindelltv.com. It was actually close to 2 hours, I think. We talked back and forth, and where they're at in South Korea, it's almost like a parallel track. They have the mainstream media, and the media tries to suppress that. Oh, the machines, the election platforms are just fine. All is well, as they're finding more and more things, more and more deviations in their elections in South Korea, and they're fighting to get rid of the machines. But what's the biggest obstacle? The obstacle is their voice. They have 97% left-wing media too over there. But what we've had here now, it's not 97% anymore, because we have all the platforms now. We have, your Elon's X, you got True Social, Vocal, Lindell TV, you got podcasts like this. You have great podcasts, great show, Getter, Gab, Instagram, Telegram, even Suckerbuck's Facebook, everybody. At least he doesn't cover stuff up anymore. So you can spread the word, spread the stuff that we have right now, spread it out. Spread the word, spread the hope. Someone just put up in chat, Minnesota's got an app for their election. Yeah, we were voting 45 days early way before the virus. We were the only state in the whole country doing this. We've been blue since 1972, everybody. We didn't vote for Reagan in the presidential election, but we've had some very strange elections, as you know. Jesse Ventura won here. But what I'm saying is, I will tell everybody this. In Minnesota, they have bashed me. They've said, the media there going, Mike, your evidence is no good. We've seen you lost the $5 million challenge. I said, this was CBS Sunday Morning. I said, listen here, Esme. I said, I didn't lose the $5 million challenge. It was overturned by the 8th Circuit here in Minneapolis. And they say Mike was right. His evidence is right. And she didn't do her due diligence, but it got played out on CBS Sunday Morning. And so what we have, and when they're bashing me in Minnesota, or not even going after me right now, they're not going after me, because that's how I would get the word out. What we have in Minnesota, if I win the primary, which I plan on doing, we have access then to the source code to these machines, these voting machines there, which, by the way, Minnesota has all three. ES&S, Dominion, and Hart, which is pretty amazing. And I happen to be in the state that has all three brands, and all three, we all know, everyone on this call, one's as bad as the other, as bad as the other, as bad as the other. They're all the same. But I'll have access to this. And what I've been telling people in Minnesota, when the president went too big to rig. Now I want everybody to think about this. What did that mean exactly? You're getting more people out to vote than the cheat would be. Okay. What I'm telling you, everybody, here's your hope. And here's how we can never give up. Right now, like you just heard about Texas, there's states all over like this that have been fighting and fighting. California is another great one. But all these places where we have certain things in place now, where let's say you have the SAVE Act, with the Save America Act, that gets pushed through, that's going to solve so many things, because when you take away different pieces to be able to steal, or to steal our elections, then the deviations come out and stand out like a sore thumb. What I mean by that is, you'll see if you take away where you can't take, let's say you take away all the illegal. You have to have voter ID and you have to live in the United States, right? Live here. If you take that out of the mix, where you have to have voter ID, now they have to cheat. Let's say cheat same day, or cheat same day. If you take away early voting, which is part of that, if you take away the early voting, and now you have to cheat on the game day, where then you're actually flipping votes from, and I've seen it go both ways with the uniparty, Democrat to Republican, or Republican to Democrat. What I'm trying to say is that everything we've learned over these last 5 years, so many of you on this call across our country, I know what we've learned is when these deviations that we see during these midterms, when they pop up, they're going to stand out, and then it's going to be us to get the word out. And maybe it's going to take that to actually get to where we need to be, which is paper ballots hand counted and secure our elections. All of our work has been, someone says, oh, you didn't win, Mike. You don't have the machine. Some of them, they're still here. Well, you know what? This is a long-term thing. This is their biggest thing that they want to keep. That's why our president said this is the most important thing he's saying during his presidency is our election platforms. It is the most important thing there is because everyone else comes out from that. And so I just want to give everybody hope here that we says we got to keep going and going and going and going. Hey, dogs. I got dogs going kind of crazy here. Anyway, here, Marianne, you just sit there. They're okay. Okay. So you guys, I wanted to spread this message of hope. The hope is we keep moving forward and securing our elections and doing everything we can to get to where we want to get to. And it's our word. Our voice is huge now, everybody. So when you see good things like you just heard from John Eastman, we've got to spread that word. It's up to all of us. We have to spread that word. You're not going to see this on Fox News, everybody. They're not going to say, hey, guess what? We got secure elections over here and not over here. This is how we're at. And by the way, it says, how can you guys get in touch with me? Reach out you can reach out to me at mike@lindelltv.com. You can reach out there. But everything I've going on right now is mikelindellgov.com. I need help. We need help. I have to win this. And they say, well, I don't live in Minnesota. It doesn't matter. Everything I'm going to be doing there affects the whole country. As we know, with all the fraud that's there, that's the biggest blessing. You guys, we have so many blessings. The big blessing here is we have the fraud in Minnesota, which is that unfolds, and it's going to unfold nationwide too. But this is our time, the one time we have to win. We needed these things to be able to win this election. Just like the big blessing of 2020 election was one of the biggest blessings this country and world has ever had, because we needed that to happen in order to get to manifest into the 2024 election and then to secure our elections permanently. So many of you out there and I want anyone out there, every single thing you're all doing, I don't care how small or how big, is important to this as a whole. Because and even if it's just praying, even if it's just putting out our voice every day going, hey, this is it over here. We have to secure over here. Another thing we all have going, everybody, is 80% of the country, of the people, want the Save America Act passed. That's incredible. It's over. You combine it. That's incredible. Everybody wants secure elections. And I'll say one last thing. Where I'm at in Minnesota, when you talk about this, Amy Klobuchar was the biggest voice, bigger than Mike Lindell in 2019, with Amy Klobuchar saying, the machine's got to go. We got to go to paper ballots, hand counted. You guys have all seen the Democrats, they play in the old days about the illegals. We got to stop the illegals. Well, this has all shifted. Well, we've got to get the word out that we didn't change. They did for political reasons. We all have wanted common sense the whole time, everybody. And this is the new party of common sense. We need to stay here. And Steve, I can't thank you enough for having me on to speak again. And I'll take any questions, or if you have anything else you want to ask me.
Yeah, Mike, you endorse precinct strategy. And I don't know about our new one. What we got is precinctprojectusa.org. I'll give you a call on that. It's going to be an upscale thing and an update. We've got people in Minnesota that are taking questions, and we'll refer them back to you. We need to get people involved. We still have 400,000 slots, 200,000 people involved. We're going to try to get people on your show to get people involved, because we're getting all kind of stuff in from people all over the country. The first thing that I thought was the most important thing, we can't win if we don't vote. So if we don't get the people out to vote, we don't have a chance. And then, as you know, you supported Tina Peters, and Marcy, her friend, asked everybody to call the governor again, 303-866-2471, and ask her to free Tina Peters. Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. You know that, I know that. And we're asking everybody to vote for Scott Bottoms in Colorado for governor, to get that freaking guy out and the women out that are are left-leaning, terrible people like you have in Minnesota. So Scott Bottoms, very important person to get elected. Tell again, everybody, how they can reach you and donate, and we'll let you
Yeah,
go.
you guys, and you can see all the events I'm doing too that you can get behind. Right now, the way to win Minnesota, I feel I'm the only one that can win with this marketing strategy. This is my wheelhouse. But in Minnesota, it's all about the micro donor. We can't take money from big donors there. It's all micro donors. So I need everyone. MikeLindellGov.com, MikeLindellGov.com, and then if you guys need to reach me for something, you have a specific question, I'll give it out here. Mike@LindellTV.com. We're trying to get everyone to join Vocal. That's part of Lindell TV. It's our election platform. It runs the Cause of America, the Election Crime Bureau. It's Vocal, VOCL.com. And yes, everybody, I endorse everything Precinct Strategy is doing, because I'm telling you, all of you on this call, every part of this giant, what would you call it, mission that we're all on. Because this isn't just Democrat, Republican. We all know the uniparty. We all know this is a spiritual battle of good and evil. And everybody's part of this. We're in the greatest time to be alive. God's given us grace for such a time as this. So you guys get involved, and stay involved. Like Steve, you're helping one day at a time to help save this country. I'm honored to be a part of your show and part of Precinct Strategy from the beginning.
Thanks very much, Mike, and we'll get you on again next month.
All right, thanks, guys.
You got it. Our next guest is Dr. Randy Russ from Louisiana. We try to get people on from different states. Randy, come on down.
Go ahead and unmute, Randy. Go ahead and unmute. Vic, excuse me, Steve, we have Dr. Edwards who's available.
We got Matt Griffiths on there. Put him on, and I'll try to get a hold of Randy and see what's going on.
All right, go ahead, Griffith, go ahead and unmute.
Well, Matt is from Maine. He's one of our YRs, and that's who we're trying to get involved. So very important person. So come on down.
Go ahead, Matt. Wait, we can see you. Go ahead. Very good. Go ahead, Matt.
Very good. Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Matt Griffiths. I am state chairman of the Maine Young Republicans, and I just want to open by saying that the Maine Democrats, instead of making our elections simpler and more transparent, they are trying to jam through ranked choice voting into more of our state races. It's a scam. Even though Maine's own Supreme Court just today, the Judicial Court already said that clashes with the state constitution's requirements, that they're decided by a straightforward plurality of votes. Even a Democratic Attorney General admitted that ranked choice voting is a fundamentally different system that doesn't meet that standard. So when young Mainers look at this, they see the truth that this isn't about strengthening democracy. It's about protecting the Democratic majority, which is very slim.
I'll be off this call in 1 minute and I'll pay.
Well, I don't know. There's somebody, I don't know if that's somebody that you're trying to.
But it's a majority that's very slim, and it's failing young voters on housing. It's failing them on affordability. It's failing them on opportunity. And that's why more young voters are waking up and saying that we want results in the here and now. They don't want any more political gimmicks that are designed to keep these kinds of people in charge. And on top of that, this isn't just a theory. Steve Robinson and the team at the Maine Wire, they do a great job of actual real journalism investigating the work that the mainstream media refuses to do, and they deserve a lot of credit for it, to be honest with you, because their reporting actually leaked that Maine Care records show that there have been documented cases of non-citizens voting and enrolled in taxpayer-funded medical programs in multiple cases. They've been registered to vote. They've had votes cast in their names in Maine elections, and those are dollars that are going to non-citizens, and that's a dollar that's not going to Maine families and everyday Mainers. And on top of everything else, you can look at what Portland is doing, and what they've done is hurting landlords. They're wanting to make it to where if you have a ground floor storefront that's been vacant for more than 6 months, they want to charge you. They want to fine you because you're not letting them put in their liberal art gallery into a vacant storefront, and they want to fine you unless you let them use your property. And these are fees that are starting in the hundreds to thousands of dollars and climbing into tens of thousands if you don't comply, even though there are roughly about 40 empty spaces. So last I was told there's about 40 empty spaces in downtown. And that's because these policies have made it too expensive for business owners. They're leaving, and they want to punish success and make freeloading easier. That's what's happening in Maine. And on top of that, now you've got undocumented and illegal citizens, not even citizens, illegal aliens that are voting. And there's evidence that they voted in Maine elections. And the Secretary of State, Sheena Bellows, is running in the Democratic primary for governor. And she knows that this is happening. And again, the Maine Wire did great reporting by calling her out when she originally said last year that there may be a few cases. And now that she's running for governor, she's saying, oh, no, that's not true. And also, she's going to oversee her own election. The uniparty system is so rigged. It's so rigged in the favor of the Democrats. It should make everyone sick. Young people are waking up to it. They are fed up with it. And I think this is going to be the year that Maine wakes up and sees how corrupt it's become and how harmful it is to the Maine economy. And I want to close my statement with just one thing. Now, Steve, I don't know how I can share a video, but I actually went down to, they have the liberal protesters. They do protest every week about one thing or another. Half of them don't even make sense. But this is a video that I took without them knowing. And I would like to show it to you because these are the type of people that we're up against.
You should be able to show it on your thing.
Okay.
Raj, can you help
Yeah,
them show?
go ahead and click on the share screen, Matt. And then when you do so, please be sure to click the share audio button. So you'll first click the share screen
Share
button.
sound. Okay.
Yeah, share sound. Perfect.
Some senators meeting, and he personally picked her out. He said, "Where's Connecticut?" She said, "Right here." And
Connecticut?
No.
Is she the governor of Connecticut?
No, she's not. She's here. What is this place?
Maine.
Name.
These are people who don't even know where they are. And these are the people that are going out and telling you, and they're going and telling children, young children, basically 18 and 19-year-olds, to save democracy. This is what we're up against in Maine. And I'll tell you what, young Mainers are fed up with it. And I think there's going to be some real change. We currently don't have control of the House by less than 5 seats. And I've talked with the Republican Party leadership, and we're expecting to take back control of the House by a pretty substantial majority, I'm hoping. And that's what it's looking like.
Follow this.
Because we've got
But I
to.
can't-
Because if we don't, we're not going to have anything left, especially if they're allowed to push through scams like ranked choice voting.
Okay, how do people reach you?
So you can reach me directly. I can put my information down there. I can put my email down there. You can also
let us know because there's millions of people watching this, not just in the.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So you can reach us. You can go to our website, MaineYoungRepublicans.com. You can reach us directly there. My information's on there as well. If you're interested in getting involved and supporting us, we have people who have, sent us well wishes and supported us all over the country. Because again, we have a dark road ahead of us, but we are getting closer every single day. So you're able to go onto our website, MaineYoungRepublicans.com, and you can get all the information about us there.
Can you give me some idea of how we can get young people to get involved? As you know, we're going to have a big Zoom meeting with Gary Meyers next month, and give us a little input because people on here want to know how they can get young people involved, because without young people, we're not going to win elections.
Yeah. So one thing that we're doing to get young people involved is we're taking this messaging directly to where they are. So in Maine, we're going on college campuses. We're going to a lot of these places where we can find young people and actively engaging them, putting them in front of like-minded people, building those connections. Because in Maine, there's a member of the chair of the College Republicans was actually punished by his university because he's a conservative. And there's so many people that are anti-conservative at some of these universities, it's nearly impossible to speak out. But we're taking this to college campuses, and we're connecting directly with college students, and we're bringing candidates to these campuses as well to connect with them. And so we've been able to grow in numbers that we weren't expecting. And so that's what we're continuing to do. That's what I encourage a lot of people to do, is connect with young people where they are and tell them that there is hope for these young conservatives out there, and the tide will be turning, and it will be turning very quickly.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yep, you got it. Let's see if we
Hey,
get Dr.
I'm
Russ
here.
back on.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Great. Thanks, Steve, and to Raj for inviting me to come on. My name is Randy Russ, and I'm in the great state of Louisiana. We're a Dominion exclusive state, top down, and I'm going to give you 3 key points that we're working on. One is Calais versus Louisiana. That case was heard in the Supreme Court last fall, and it is the racial gerrymandering case. So you'll want to keep a close eye on that, because as you probably are aware, if the Supreme Court rules in our favor, it will outlaw gerrymandered districts based on race, and we should pick up conservative seats because of that. Secondly, we have an active lawsuit. Again, the key lead plaintiff is Bert Calais, one of our patriots. Raj, you met him in 2022, I'm sure. We are suing the state of Louisiana on constitutional grounds that require ballots to be counted publicly. I don't need to tell the folks on this call that the Dominion system does not count ballots publicly. And to make matters worse, we have no paper ballots in Louisiana. Over 90% of our votes are recorded internally in the election system. And thirdly, my colleague John Scanlon and I have been working with our team here in Louisiana since early 2022 on hand count. Raj came in May 2022. You can see our current work, what we're calling the Louisiana two-step hand count process on YouTube. If you go to Louisiana two-step on YouTube, you'll see a 5-minute video on our latest counting system, which is transparent, accurate, 100%, auditable, and our average precinct in Louisiana can be counted in about 4 hours with 4 people using this hand count method. Finally, John and I are working on a question that we're asking everyone. If the current election system collapsed today, including voter registration, as we heard from Mr. Eastman, and the machine side, could your county run voter registration and elections? How would they do it? So we are working with our team here in Louisiana and a team of content experts around the country to put together an end-to-end system that decentralizes voter registration and elections to the county and precinct level. We've engaged a management consulting firm and CPA firm for audit purposes to help us develop the processes, procedures, and sample model laws to enable the counties to take over responsibility for their own elections down to the precinct level. So that's what we're working on currently, and we're hoping to have something to report in the next little while. Thank you, Steve. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, we stood up a couple of years ago an organization called Louisiana Republic Assembly, and Christy Hike is the leader of that group. They are intensely focused on, among other things, on the county level, we call them parishes in Louisiana. They're focused on the precinct project to fill seats on our Republican local organizations. I'm happy to report that we've made some progress at the state level with getting Central Committee patriots elected, and we passed last year a resolution in support of hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballot. We won by 2 votes, but we'll take that win. So that's what's up in Louisiana. We're optimistic. We've been slamming our senators to get this SAVE Act passed, Save America Act passed, and we're very hopeful here in Louisiana. Thank you all for what you have done and what you continue to do. God bless you.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Randy. We finally got you on there. Before our next guest, Raj, you want to say a few words?
Steve, let me go ahead and if I could do that a little later on, and
Sure.
if you go to Ed first, that'd be great.
Yep. So let's get Ron Edwards on. See if you find him.
Go ahead, Ed. You are up. Go ahead.
Ron. Yeah, Ron.
Yes, Steve and rest of you patriots, it's good to be with you guys today. Steve, it is wonderful having your support, allowing me to be here and have a voice and some visibility to a wide audience. I'm speaking to you guys from the great state of California, the Golden State. They're trying to take us down, but Steve, we're fighting like crazy. I'm an African American. I'm a Black Christian is what I tell people, and I wasn't engaged in this fight. I was just doing my thing, helping my family, helping the community, working in the community, working in church. But then I started seeing what was going on, Steve. Our nation is being invaded. Our rights are systematically being taken from us. Our government is really, again, like fighting against England, it's a tyranny. The taxation without any representation, it is ridiculous. And we know the politicians were taking more money from us than they should, but at least they wasn't taking our children away from us, and we still had a little bit of freedom. You know, it's just what they're doing is just ridiculous. We're all fighting for our freedoms. There are a lot of people that's a lot smarter than me, guys, that are involved in this election integrity fight. You know, California has been a big trendsetter throughout kind of like the history of this country. But we got to stop following California. California was like that cool kid in school, and everybody wanted to, you know, be like that kid. We had entertainment, got culture, we got amusement parks. Everybody wants to come to California. But if you know what's going on now, the trend is people are leaving California. People are saying that's enough. I've had enough. I know people that's going to Texas, people that's going to North Carolina, people that's going to Arizona and even Kentucky. They're running away from California, but I want you guys to know that they are patriots like Ron Edwards that's standing in the gap, and we're fighting for California. I want everybody to know that there's more Republicans in California than any other state in this union. And we have good patriots here. We have moms here that's fighting. We have dads here that's fighting. And like I say, again, we have patriots that are fighting here. We have the sheriff in Riverside County. He's fighting this election integrity thing, and he pulled the ballots. If you guys know, we had a special election in 2025. It was November 2025. And the big thing about that election was Proposition 50. And, you know, these tyrants that's in our government, we have a super majority here of Democrats, and they won't let those 40% of Republicans in this state have a voice. You can't even speak. You can't have your representation. They're taxing us, but there's no representation. So the sheriff seized about 650,000 ballots from that November special election. And then, you know, the Democrats were in an uproar. And so now what's going on is it's like the courts have gotten involved, and I guess they're going to sort through this. But one thing about the judges in California, we know they legislate from the bench. So we don't really look for good things from the courts. But like I said, again, we're in this fight. The sheriff is fighting. A lot of us patriots are fighting, and we're behind the sheriff, and we're behind all of us patriots. Now, one of the things I see, guys, when it comes to young people, and I'm trying to get more young people. I ran for the California State Legislature in 2024. No political connections or anything. I ran because I saw what was going on. I'm a veteran. I'm a licensed minister. I'm a business owner, and we want to get our country back. I got 45% of the vote. I got 60,000 people that voted for me. I had Republicans, 97% of Republicans voted for me. Democrats voted for me. Libertarians voted for me. Independents, no party preference, you name it. Everybody was like fond of Ron. I got in front of parents because the parents, we got parents, and those parents are going to change things. We got Sonia Shaw running for the superintendent in the state. And when I get in front of the parents, I don't care if they white, black, Mexican, Asian, it doesn't matter. We're Americans. We're just patriotic Americans. I say, hey, mom, hey, dad, nobody should be talking to your kid about anything. You know what percentage of parents agree with me? 100%. We have a lot of problems, you guys, like Mike Lindell was saying and other people were saying. We know that the cheating is going on with the election fraud. Donald Trump had a saying, make it too big to rig, but we know this Dominion machines and all these other machines are in front of us. But I am confident that we have some smart people on our side that's going to solve these things that are going on. So I want you guys to pray for me, okay?
So,
and did I hear you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I'm in this fight. So 2026, the election is in June, and I need all the support that I can get. One of the things that really caught my attention, Steve, are Christians. There's 90 million Christians in our nation. You guys should know this. 40 million Christians don't vote. The Christians are conservatives. American principles are Christian principles. Christian principles are conservative principles. So these are people that already agree with us on the conservative side. We just have to get them to vote. The apathy is really tremendous with the young people and the Christians. I've been visiting churches like crazy. I never stopped. I've been doing this since after the 24 election. I probably visit, me and my wife, 6 churches in 8 weeks. And so we're getting the men of God. I'm getting men of God say, man, I voted for the Democrat last time. I'm voting for you this time. We're going house to house. And when I say house to house, we're putting boots on the ground. We're going to every church house we can go to, Steve, because this fraud is ridiculous. In California, we give them $320 billion every single year. Then they turn around and say, hey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Smith, Mr. Johnson, we need $70 billion more dollars. And one of the things I tell people, I say, if you give me $320 billion with a B, I'll give you 2 things. I'll give you a receipt and I'll give you some change. That's just common sense. California doesn't give the people a receipt, and then they don't even let them know. There's no transparency what they're spending that money on. California is leading from the back. Homelessness is high. Crime is high. The prices of everything is high. We got to get these elections turned around and get California to represent the 40 million Republicans that's in this state, Steve.
Ron, tell us about the sheriff and what he did with all these ballots and everything. What's going on there in Riverside?
No, Steve, he did take the ballots because of election fraud. They wanted to look into the election fraud because of that election I was talking about, the special election Proposition 50, what happened in November 25. But, you know, it caused the uproar. So all the ants come out the hill, the attorney general, everybody in California, they made a big uproar about it. And so it's just politics being played. One thing I tell people, the only science that Democrats know is political. They know political science. So what they're doing is they're going to fight it in the courts. And so we're waiting now to see what's going to happen from that decision.
So how do people reach you if they want to donate or they want to get involved in your campaign? I know we have a lot of people from California on here, all over the country.
And Steve, I put my information in the chat so if they can see that, but I'll give it to you again. I'm gonna give you my email address, and it's Fight Apathy, F-I-G-H-T, Fight Apathy, A-P-A-T-H-Y 105 @gmail.com. We have to fight apathy. So I made my email Fight Apathy. We got too many Americans that's had it good for so long, and we just depended on our politicians to do a good job. But now we have to fight this apathy. My email is fightapathy105@gmail.com. I'm going to give you my phone number. Give me a call. My number is 909-241-7642. Once again, that number is 909-241-7642. My website is Ronald Edwards 4 FOR assembly.com. Again, that website is Ronald Edwards 4 FOR assembly.com. God bless you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate you coming on. Raj, you available?
Yes, great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ron, for the talk you just gave. So I'm going to cover a couple of different things here. There's an overarching theme so far in the speakers you've heard that we have to up our game. You've heard even though we're an election integrity group here, you have heard a lot of the speakers that have spoken so far talk about the importance now of making sure that we have a plan to defend key seats and take key seats in order to make sure that the midterms take place the way we need them to take place. Statistically, the odds are not in our favor because I heard Seth Keshel say midterms will go against the Oval Office, but we cannot abide by statistics. We've got to change those statistics, and we have to have this election go the way we want it to go. So with that in mind, I'm just going to share a couple of things. This is a little bit off of the election integrity space, but I want to share it in a way that might hopefully motivate you. I want to share it in a way that will embolden you. And so to do that, I'm going to start off with something that you probably are aware of if you've been tracking the news, and that is this controversy surrounding the mural here in Rhode Island, where I am at the moment, of a mural of a victim of a violent crime. So for those of you who are not aware of this, a quick update here. This is Irina. She is a woman that was sitting in a train over here, just as you can see, reading her iPad, I guess. And behind her is a criminal who had been arrested and released many times. And unprovoked, he got up. You can see his hand rising up there. And I'm not going to share the more graphic pictures here, but she is now realizing she's under attack, and she was brutally killed in the United States of America on public transportation. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is this is caught on video. There is no speculation on what happened. It's caught on video, and it's in plain daylight, plain sight. And yet now what is happening is the mural that was erected to paint honoring her memory got started. You can see it partially finished here. And then here in Rhode Island, the opposition has said that they do not want that mural going up. Now, why did I bring it up on this call? It's got really nothing to do with election integrity. Why I brought it up on this call is it's a current day, very present showcase of the evil that we are battling against. If you take this and then you take the other thing that we have talked about before, which is Tina Peters, who is still in jail at the moment, we are seeing many, many cases of the evil that we have to push back on. Now, with that in the background, and I apologize to anyone who I may have upset with this really tragic news and the way the opposition is just trying to now attack, by the way, and marginalize the artist who painted that mural. With that in the background, I want to just show you a little bit about what's happening as a playbook here in the state of Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a supermajority Democrat state, and the Republicans here, many of them, not all, have said that there's really no way to create a decisive victory in this state. And the reason I brought this up is the reason I'm in Rhode Island, as you may know, is I'm working with my colleague, a business partner, Vic Mellor, who is running as a Republican in the blue state of Rhode Island for the United States Congress. So his approach, and I want to share this with you because he's doing this in the blue state of Rhode Island, I want to encourage you to consider this kind of a very bold, ambitious, well thought out strategy in your location, not just to pull forward election integrity, but also to get individuals that represent the values on this call into office. The reality is we are going to lose Republicans in Congress, both the House and Senate. That's the reality. The thing we need to do now is we have to earn new seats. We're going to lose some, but we have to earn new seats. And so to kind of give you an idea of what we are doing there is we actually, again, remember, this is Rhode Island. This is a blue state of Rhode Island. And just over 4 weeks ago, we had a rally. And this rally was sold out. We had to turn people away. The reason for that is that the approach that Vic Mellor is taking is very bold. It is very audacious. He is literally going on the offensive publicly against the evil that we see in our communities, and people are responding to that. Some Democrats are responding to it. Lots of independents are responding to it. Republicans that have historically not voted are responding to it. We're having people come and say, I have not voted, but after listening to what Vic wants to do and the boldness and the conviction with which he's speaking and the unapologetic, non-compromised manner in which he's pushing his sharing his ideas, I'm going to vote for the first time. I'm going to vote for him. So to give you a sense, this is the next rally. And if you're, by the way, in the New England area, I'm inviting you to please come and get a ticket for this event. You can see this is Vic Mellor. For those of you who don't know, he's a candidate. Key speaker will be Roger Stone. Ian Gaudreau is now the literally world famous mural artist because he is just a small businessman, but because the mural painted of that victim, Irina, that I showed you earlier, was canceled, and now there's whole controversy around that, and now the entire city wants to railroad him and portray him as a villain. He is now gained notoriety, and he is going to be one of the speakers as well as other leaders here from Rhode Island. So this kind of approach, my colleagues, of being bold, of being audacious, speaking the truth in an uncompromised, I might say even a non-politically correct way, is a way to get people who historically haven't voted because they're disgusted with the lukewarmness and the complacency even of conservative politicians. That approach we're seeing here is sparking interest and enthusiasm and participation from that group. Our biggest challenge, let me say it differently, one of the challenges we have in the midterms is getting people who have checked out. They're upset about what's going on. I'm talking about people that think like us. They're upset of what they see on the news today. They don't feel that the people that are in office are doing it in their particular states, maybe doing a good enough job. If you can find people that are willing to take this bold approach, do a good job on funding, likely you might see what we're beginning to see here, where participation from that demographic of checked out voters who normally would vote for a conservative leader will actually get. So this is one example. And by the way, that's available at Rhode-IslandFirstRallies.com, Rhode-IslandFirstRallies.com. For those of you guys that are closer to my home base, which is in Florida, there's another event happening here. And this is a free event. It's taking place on April 18th. Please, I encourage you to go there and check it out. It is a way to bring the communities together because that is what people are yearning for. They're looking for people to be brought together, but brought together for the bold, audacious vision of what people like us can accomplish in our nation. So I want to share those things with you. I'll put the URLs to both of those in the chat. The last thing I'm going to say is this. Because of what Vic Mellor is doing, we have gone to Washington, D.C. several times. We've spoken to many of the legislators there and officials there, even people that are staunch Republicans, good, strong folks. And some of them are so deflated. They're so discouraged. They feel that they don't have a voice. They feel that the Speaker and the Senate President are operating in a very top-down mode. And I was surprised to hear how discouraged some of our strong elected officials, Republicans in DC, are beginning to talk in a very resigned manner, in a very defeatist manner. And so it is so important. It is so important. And the part of the reason of that is they hear so much from the opposition. They hear so much from the uniparty swamp, and they don't hear enough from the people that are like the people on this Zoom call here and the people that are watching this live stream. So the last thing I want to conclude with is, if you have a elected official that is in Washington, D.C., it occurs for your state as well, but I'm focusing right now on the midterms, and you haven't reached out to them to encourage them, edify them, and have their back, I want to ask you to do that, because these people are human beings just like we are. And if they're 24/7 getting opposed by people within their own swamp and also the opposition, eventually it gets to you. And I've seen that firsthand with my eyes, surprised and shocked at how some of even the staunchest individuals are talking in a very defeatist manner. So you, my friends, that they've got to hear from you. There's a reason why you individually are charged with being the light of the world. You individually are charged with being salt of the earth, not just Steve Stern, not just Mike Lindell, not just speakers here, but you, my friends, watching this on the Zoom and also on the live stream afterwards. So I encourage you to take action, 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 action. So with that, Steve, I'm going to stop my speak and turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Russ. We now have Joe Hoft, who is a leader of Gateway Pundit, 6 books, TV host, everything under the sun. Glad to have you today.
Thanks, Steve. Excuse me. Thanks, Raj, too. Great presentation. You know, I was thinking as you were talking, Raj, Rhode Island has a very unique business model for their elections. I don't know if you know that, but there is something very, very unique about the way that they run things there that makes it easier for us to decipher what's going on there. So anyways, thanks for that. Thanks for all the information too. My belief is that the American people are absolutely fired up. We have not lost momentum. We've gained momentum. We are, I'll just say, pissed off. There is so much to do, and every day we turn around, we're finding more and more corruption. I think this effort to unwind some of this massive corruption in Minnesota, you know, President Trump warned us. He said what's going on there. Basically, these Somalians are pirates. Don't bring them into your country. Their culture is toxic. And sure enough, it sure is. We found out now billions there. They're just starting on California. It was great to hear from the state assembly member just before me, Ron Edwards. I enjoyed what he had to share. I agree. California, when you go out there, you go to Orange County and places like that, it is totally red. They have Trump parades and stuff there. We're being conned. This is the thing. It's such a lie, such a massive push of false information towards us that people get confused sometimes. But I think what I learned after the 2020 election was 1 year later in the United States, a poll was done by Rasmussen, and it came back that 62% of Americans thought the election was stolen. And another poll, 65% said that the election or that January 6th was a setup. They did not get that information from the mainstream media. If you go to ABC or any of these entities, which I never go to, the only time I might see something is when there's a clip on social media, but I never go there. They're old news. They're 2 days old, even if it was accurate. And they don't report the truth, and Americans aren't going there either. And we're winning the media battle. And I think, you know, thank God for places like this, Steve, Raj, your work here, as well as Gateway Pundit and others. And I have my own personal site now, joehoft.com, that I will feed stories to the Gateway Pundit as well. So we are winning. Another piece, though, is these elections are broke. And not only our country's broke. I was just at an event last week in Las Vegas, emceed an event there, and we uncovered $5 trillion in school bond fraud, something nobody's even talking about yet. $5 trillion across this country. It is a massive sham there. There is so much corruption. I saw somebody say this online the other day. Probably wondering if half of our deficit is due to just absolute fraud. Some guy said, is it stolen by the Democrats? Is that where all this money went? Because it is a joke. Anyways, in California, we did a study after 2024. I worked with Harry Hari and United for Freedom, and that group, and we came up with in Orange County, 1 out of 5 voters, roughly 1 out of 5 was an ineligible voter. For most of them were illegals, and it's the method that they have for signing up people on driver's license and all that. We've been through that here before, so it's California's could very well be a red state. I think it is. I think there are some blue cycles, but even across the country, one thing we cannot, and you're right, we cannot accept these stolen elections in these big cities. In St. Louis, for example, my brother Jim and I drove from city center Forest Park area to the airport one day about a year ago, and also this is burnt down buildings, gorgeous old buildings that used to be nice. They're burnt down and boarded up, and or both burnt down and boarded up. And they're trying to tell us that these areas are populated, and they're trying to tell us that these people are all voting almost 100% for the Democrat ticket. It's a lie. We're being lied to over and over again. There's nothing certifiable about our elections. I learned that after 2020 and after decades in the finance and corporate arena. Leading to a position overseas in Hong Kong, where I'm overseeing multi-billion-dollar blocks of business. We never would have accepted this stuff. I just looked at a video I did a couple of years ago with Roger Stone and General Flynn, who I believe is following me in Trump Doral. We had a prayer for Trump back in 2023. It was hell then, if you remember. He's under attack. This country's under Biden. It is a hellhole what's going on. And we had prayers for him. I think the biggest thing anybody on this call can do to this day is prayer. My mom said that to me once. I said, well, I guess all I can do is pray for this person. My mom said, that's the best thing you can do. So I really believe that too. But we got to get to the truth. I think we've got a lot to fix. Tonight, I'm going on with Grant Stinchfield on RAV to talk about who's going to be our next attorney general. And it matters because this first year is not satisfactory. We all want much more. And what we're learning is that I don't know if we're going to get it all fixed right now, but if we can win this election, then we can get stuff done. So all our effort needs to be on this election process. Trump's doing a great job. He's signed now 2 executive orders on elections. This latest one is going to help clean up the voter rolls and also address much of this mail-in ballots. So I'm excited about that. There's work that Trump's doing. We've got to enforce it now and not accept anything less. The challenge for us is to put these controls in place before the election. And because after the election, if you're a vote behind, good luck trying to win that election. You're done. So we've got a lot of work to do. This is exactly, Steve, what we should be doing right now is talking about elections. It's been the key thing since 2020, and it still is. We've got a lot of work to do. And like I said before, too, back years ago, I never would have certified this election if I was in corporate. If this processes and these numbers came to me, never would have somebody in corporate America certified this stuff in an auditing or a financial reporting position. Never. It was a joke. We can't accept this stuff anymore. So, Steve, you're bringing on the right people here. There's a lot of hope, I think. I tell you what, I'm more pissed than I am buying into any of this garbage. I think Trump's doing a great job. I saw some numbers the other day. It wasn't, and even CNN reported 100% of MAGA is with Trump. Said we don't see those numbers anywhere. Even in North Korea, the leader got 99.7%. Trump's getting 100% of MAGA. We can't, we've got to know we are on the right team. We were 60-some% back in 2021. Now we're probably, I believe, more than that. I believe closer to 70% now. And we are winning. All we need to do is fight for free and fair elections like Trump is doing. We need to figure out where we can volunteer and jump in various areas to help out and pray a lot. If we can win the election, then we can work on the accountability. We can work on all these other issues that are still outstanding, because there's a lot to be done. I bet in just this team here, if we were all to list all the things that we think need to be addressed and people need to be held accountable of, probably come up with at least 200 or so things that we should address. So we're not going to be able to do that if we lose this election. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. If we get free and fair elections, we're going to blow these people out. We're going to be back to a major majority, and we'll hopefully get rid of these rhinos in the process on the way too, because there's a lot of people that say they're Republican, but they're not. I put a piece up yesterday, got a lot of attention to that at Gateway Pundit. Another piece today on Cash Patel saying, hey, what's going on here, Cash? Seth Rich was murdered 10 years ago, a decade ago, and these people that are asking for information and the FBI is blocking it. Are you aware of it, or are you allowing it? What's the answer? Because we need to find the answers to places like this. Was the whole story narrative behind the whole Russia collusion
Oh,
sham.
1 minute. We got General Flynn on.
Yeah, thanks. And this general appreciate this if he's listening on. This was a key component of the Russia collusion was, hey, Russia forced these and sent this information to WikiLeaks. It was all a lie. It was manufactured by, I believe, individuals outside the United States, most likely the UK. And it's still not resolved. So this is the kind of stuff we've got to work on now. Steve, thanks for putting this together. I could go on and on. Raj as well. Thanks for working on those activities coming up. God bless.
Our next guest, it would take me about a half an hour to introduce him, so I'm just going to bring him on because we all know him. We appreciate the fact he took time to come on today. General Michael Flynn, the most famous guy on our movement.
Yeah. Well, I did catch Joe Hoft here, probably the last 5 minutes of Joe, and thank God for him. And I learned a lot from Joe and his background of auditing, but also organizations like Gateway Pundit and just the whole rise of independent media. And we're going to see another iteration of alternative independent media here in the next probably 6 months. There's going to be another iteration, I think, because there are people internationally, frankly, but are mainly here in the U.S. that recognize the importance of independent media, and these fiercely independent voices that we are going to need going into 2026, and then hopefully we'll get through it. I don't want to rehash a lot of what everybody knows. I firmly believe that if we had fair elections in this country, that another Democrat would never win, except for maybe in one of the boroughs in New York City, maybe up in the south side of Chicago. But I even doubt that. I have been all over this country and I have actually worked at the precinct level. I think that's how you and I, Steve, really first got connected years ago. And I finally said, is people talking about precincts? And I said, I'm gonna go be a precinct captain or go work at a precinct. And I did. My wife and I both did. We joined our local rec because I had not done any of that stuff. I immediately went from my years in the military and jumped right into service at the highest levels. And, I won't go through that whole story. I'm glad that Joe brought up Seth Rich, because there are elements that still need to be resolved and need to be stories that still need to be told and discovered, right? Seth Rich is one of them. I'm really hoping that Trump pardons Julian Assange, because Julian Assange still has information that is viable for some of the things that are going on, because he's got kind of his own kill switch, so to speak. It's been a while, but I was in touch with some of Assange's family members well over almost 2 years ago now, and there are still bits and pieces of information out there as to what people are trying to do to our country. And I think everybody that's on this call that has joined in with Steve's efforts, and we just need to continue to do this, as we go forward towards another important election. But there are all these pieces of information that we now know, and the puzzle has been put together. Not completely. There's still some really critical voids in the overall picture. But more and more Americans have come to the conclusion that that there's something really bad happening, and and they can start to put their finger on where. And it is a challenge between, I've talked about this before a while back when I was on this, the challenge between sort of the idea of globalism versus nationalism. And nationalism can, the media and the left will define every word that we use. So they'll define that as fascist, as whatever, as anti-something. But really what it comes down to is a belief in our nation, right? Our belief in America as it's supposed to be, and as it could be, and not this one world order. And there are many people around Trump that believe in this one world order stuff. Trust me, they're not, he is not void of voices whispering in his ear almost on a daily basis of people who believe in this crap. And this is kind of most of Europe is dealing with. There's a complete shift going on in Europe right now. And I have had an opportunity from the last time I was on here. I have had an opportunity to go and visit a couple of places in Europe, as well as nations in Africa. And I'm going to do a trip over to Asia here. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm trying to gauge who's on our team, right? So President Trump can do that, but it's different when you're dealing with the President of the United States. People treat him differently. They talk to him differently. They act differently around him, versus others who understand, that level and can gauge and discern about, and not have to worry about the political mess that we have, and just get to kind of an honest conversation, back channel, behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it, and get a sense of where do they think America is going. Because there's a lot of concern globally by those countries that are deeply, deeply relying on America to stay strong and to stay resilient to the challenges of globalism. And I'll dive in here down to the local level here in a second, but I want to lay this out because I think that it matters, because I'll always go back to the local action business. But I want people to understand that we are not, just because Trump's in office and everybody, Joe just talked about it with, we just wasted a year plus 14 months, 15 months maybe. If you think about the couple of months in transition, we just wasted a year of not getting to what the Department of Justice should have been getting to. And I don't know. I stay close touch with organizations like Judicial Watch and a couple of others, but particularly Judicial Watch, and look at the cases that they have pending or the FOIA requests that they have pending. And I'm looking at them and I'm saying, why isn't the Department of Justice giving us this information? Why are they fighting it? And the reason is because below the top layer of leaders that were put into place by President Trump and by his team, his transition team, down below that layer, it's very thick. It's a thick, murky substance of goop, of deep state goop, and it's very hard to scoop that stuff out and get rid of it. There's so many people still in the Department of Justice, still in the FBI, still, frankly, in the Department of Defense. Thank God for our uniformed military, who knows what they're doing in this sort of time that we're in. But dropping bombs and telling us how many missiles we fired, how many missiles we've engaged, that does not matter one iota. And in fact, the wonderful operations that our military has accomplished in Venezuela to get Maduro, and this recent one where they rescued these pilots who were downed over in Iran, to me, those are normal things that they're very complicated. They're very challenging. They're filled with risk, but those are expectations that a guy like me has, that we should be able to do that without batting an eye. Those are the things that matter. We can pat ourselves on the back all day about our ability to be able to do that and to do those kinds of things and to drop, hundreds and hundreds of bombs. But that's all we did in Vietnam. Frankly, that's all we did in Korea too, because we started bean counting in the days of Korea, and we started doing deployments there instead of doing what we should have done. And we did that all the way up until right now. It has nothing to do with any of this. What has to do with is whether or not there is a legitimate plan to get us the hell out of Iran as quickly as we can, declare victory, and then what, right? Then what? Is like President Trump said, is Iran gonna pay for every, they're gonna give us a tariff or a tax on every ship coming out of the Persian Gulf, or if there's gonna be other countries benefiting from the oil coming out of there, are they gonna pay us? Because they haven't been. And we've been providing security for the better part of for half a century. So that's a kind of a big, washing over of a lot of geopolitics that are in play right now. But still, and this is where Steve and this body has come together on. The most important thing in our country is free and fair elections. If we don't have free and fair elections, then we can't move forward. And I'm telling you, I'm watching the primaries right now. I haven't seen one state, not one change, other than local groups of American citizens who have done things like cleaning up voter rolls, getting in there and making sure that there's a little bit more organization. Maybe people running for some local offices and they're in these local offices, but Jesus, I mean, look at the problems that we had in Arkansas. And Arkansas is run by, a Huckabee for Christ's sake. So somebody who is going to run for president of the United States, by the way, I mark my words, she will be on the primary ballots for the next president in 2028. She'll run. So, but she won't fix her own elections in Arkansas. I'm picking on her because she should be one of the first ones to do it. She should have done it when she first got into the governorship. Never mind what challenges we have in California. I mean, Joe Hoft, and I don't know, I didn't catch him at the beginning, but God, the work that they've done in Orange County and to try to expose basically the criminal theft that's occurred out in California. And for those that there may be some folks on here from California, the California GOP, frankly, is one big money laundering operation. I mean, and I've been out to California a bunch of times and spoken to Lincoln Reagan dinners and spoken to different RECs in different parts of the state. And the GOP never shows up. The leadership of the GOP, they never show up. Why? Because they want your money and they don't really care about whether or not they get the governorship. If they did, then they would fight much, much harder against the kinds of problems that are occurring out in California right now. So, Arkansas, and you look at some other states, Texas, Ron DeSantis, Florida, Ron DeSantis finally, I think it's today, I haven't read the whole thing yet. He finally declared Sharia law as basically against the law, but I have to read the legal document that he signed. But I mean, look at what's going on in Texas. We can't get the GOP to do the things that the American people want to have done. The president of the United States has signed executive orders. None of those executive orders have been executed. They're not being executed. And the only way they're going to be executed is if we, in our own ways, in our states, in our assembly level, assemblyman level, committeeman level, county level, we have to put pressure on the GOP, who the GOP desperately wants to get rid of MAGA. They desperately want to get rid of Trump. There's a lot of things that I disagree with Trump on. One of them is when he picks some of these rhinos who he gets behind. Lindsey Graham's a perfect, the poster child for somebody who can't stand Trump, but because Trump's over, fighting wars over in the Middle East, he's his best buddy. So Trump has got to realize that when he's said and done, they're like, thank God he's gone. And I'm telling you, don't count on the GOP to jump on board the MAGA movement post-Trump. And Trump's going to work very hard to figure out, okay, who should take the con once he's out of there. But he hasn't come out and said, J.D. Vance is my heir apparent. He hasn't said, in fact, he said, yeah, maybe J.D. He said, maybe Marco, maybe there's somebody else. I mean, So we have to connect. This groups like this, and there are others. Each one of you is part of some other element, some other political element in your state or in your local level. And what we're going to have to do is we have to stand up and really, really make our voices heard and make our positions count where it matters. And if you have access to a governor, then get access to the governor and let them know, voice your concern if they trust you. If they don't, but you have access to a state legislature or a member of the House of Representatives, a U.S. Senator, we've got to get our voices heard. The House of Representatives and the Senate, they both belong to the Republican Party. And not one election integrity or election security action has occurred. Not one. So Trump has signed multiple executive orders. Not one has been turned into a law. I'm kind of at a loss, Steve. I'm at a loss to others that are on here. We do have people out there that are going to be running for office. I think I'll put a plug in for a guy by the name of Vic Mellor, who's running up in Rhode Island. He actually moved his residency from Florida to Rhode Island, which is where he grew up, is his home state. He grew up in the projects up there. And I think he's got a great shot at winning a House seat in a place that the GOP, frankly, doesn't even care about, So the GOP's not even paying attention. In fact, the GOP doesn't want Vic Mellor. They really don't want him because you know what? Because Vic is an independent guy. So I know Vic. I think Vic has a good shot. I think he's going to be one of those seats that the GOP is going to win that they're not counting on. That's a good thing because redistricting in different parts of the country, and Steve, maybe or somebody here knows about the redistricting efforts in Virginia. That's going to matter a lot. My last point, because I know I kind of bounce around here a little bit, and I'll plan on coming on more of these, Steve. Virginia, because I will sort of end there. Look, folks, we had Virginia. We had a super legislature in the Republican Party. We had the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state. We lost every single bit of it. And the guy that was the governor is going to run for president of the United States. And Trump's got him on some board right now, too. I'm not a fan of these people because they lose. Trump wins. Trump fought tooth and nail. This body of people on this video teleconference, I know that this body, with a lot of help from a lot of other people, but this body with the great independent media people that we have, we all fought very hard for Trump to win. He didn't win because of two people on his staff. He won because of the American people stepping up and saying, we're not done fighting, and we are not going to be done fighting. And a lot of us put a lot of skin into this game, and it cost a lot. It cost a lot for all of us. But when we have a state like Virginia, which should, by all rights, be completely dominated by the Republican Party, and it is not. And I'm going to tell you, Virginia matters. New Jersey matters. North Carolina matters. South Carolina matters. And if we don't win these couple of key states, Ohio, right, Michigan, so every one of those states I have been in the last 6 months, and at some local level. And I'm going to Wyoming, I'm going to Iowa, I'm going to Montana, I'm going to go back out to California, I'm going out to Phoenix, Arizona. All of it is for county level stuff. It's for local stuff because that's where the proverbial rubber meets the road. And I'm telling you, the people of this country are upset. They're upset with they don't feel like we're moving towards America first. They feel like we're moving towards another effort. And the war in Iran is a big, distraction. And it's going to cost. It's costing us $1 billion a day, if not more. Let's pray that Trump has a good exit strategy and a quick one here, and we're done with it, and that the people of Iran aren't wiped out afterwards. But that's, we're dealing with a psychotic ideology that could happen. But back to America, we have got to execute the executive orders that the President of the United States signed, and they should be turned into law. I mean, look at what it's taken to get the SAVE Act. And so what I'm telling you is that roses are not red, right? They're not red. And if we don't get our shit together here, and those of us that have an ability or have a voice, certainly, or members of other groups, we have got to work hard at the local level to keep this fight going. Every single election we've been saying for the last, 3 or 4 have been the most important. This is it. I think this is it. If we lose the House, they're going to impeach Trump. They've already said what they're going to do, and he's going to be a lame duck the day after the election if we lose. And very last thing, so what people forget, Trump still has a court date in February of 2029. He's got a court date in New York City for February of 2029. That judge is not letting him go. So he knows that. And that's why, what we ought to be doing, he ought to be looking for somebody to run for governor of that state to issue him a pardon. Christ, he can't even get Tina Peters out of prison, for Christ's sake. So anyway, I'll stand by, Steve, if anybody has any questions or comments.
So I want to tell you something, so you can look this up. I don't know if you can see this. PrecinctProjectUSA.org. I'm going to call you tomorrow, the next day when you're available, and discuss. Look that up. We're running a little late, but on the 30th of April, we have a precinct project call. I'm going to try to get you on that to let everybody know, and I'll talk to you about it tomorrow.
We should get 30 million signatures on stuff like that or more.
I'm going to tell you why we're not going to do it, but we don't have time today. But if you're available tomorrow, next day, I'll give you a call. Thank you very much for coming. Our next guest is my good friend, Wayne Root, who's going to come up with some good stuff. He fortunately texted the president, and the president did something very, very strong. So come on down and let us know what it is.
Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me okay now?
You can. You look good for an old man.
Not bad, not bad. I'll be 65 this July.
You're catching up to me.
I'm checking in on Medicare in about 1 month. Everything's going great on my end. For the country, I agree with General Flynn. It could go either way, and there's no question this election is the final straw. But it's not like anyone exaggerated on the last 3 or 4 elections, because if we had lost any one of them, if we had lost in 24, the country was gone. If we'd lost in 16, the country was gone. We lost in 20, but it turned out Trump made a great comeback. So it turned okay. But if we were to lose the midterms, he will be impeached. He will never pass another law. And then we move right into 28. And if we don't have SAVE Act or an executive order in place, which is even better in the SAVE Act, to limit mail-in ballots, particularly, and also voter ID and proof of citizenship, and stop the machine voting and get the hand ballots counted, and stop voting beyond election night, stop counting ballots beyond election night. If you don't get any of that in place, we not only lose the midterms, but we're going to lose the presidency in 28. So obviously, all the marbles are on the line here. But I am remarkably optimistic despite that. CNN, of all places, CNN, Harry Enton is their data expert. He came on this morning and he said that Republicans have the lead in the midterms. Democrats are way behind where they were the last 2 times they won in the midterms. So everyone says it's a fait accompli. We've lost the midterms. It's over. But it's not true. My belief, and I've written columns on this, and you can find them at my website, root4america.com. Wayne Root, root4america.com. All my columns there. We win the midterms if we pass some facsimile of either the SAVE Act or an executive order that says the same thing as the SAVE Act, but in particular, an executive order on mail-in ballots, which Trump just signed. But on the other hand, the Supreme Court has to now weigh in on it after several appeals, and it's got to get done before the midterm elections. But in my opinion, all elections come down to the economy. Say what you want about Iran. It's not going to matter come August, September, October, and the election in November. Everyone will have long ago forgotten it. What matters is the economy, stupid, as James Carville said. And all of the signs are there that the economy is about to explode upward with the war going on, despite the war. Lots of great news last week that I reported on my America's Top 10 Countdown show on Real America's Voice TV. Lots of great news about retail sales, jobs, small business jobs, GDP. Everything is showing what they used to call green shoots, that I think that if the war can get over in the next few weeks, hopefully the next 4 to 6 weeks, Trump can end this thing, maybe sooner. If the Iran conflict is over, then I think, and the economy goes well, and we pass some facsimile of either the SAVE Act or we get the EU approved by the Supreme Court, the EO executive order by Trump, we can and will win the midterms. It's going to be very different than people think, and I'm putting my money on this. I'll bet we win the midterms because Trump's economy is about to explode just in time for the elections, which is going to be a great summer of great economic stats and a great fall. So I still feel a lot of optimism. But look, Steve mentioned the EO that I had some hand in. I can never say it's me. Lots of people helped a lot. John Goodman helped a lot. John Goodman is like a relentless hound dog, and he pushed me and pushed me. Steve's friend pushed me and pushed me to write a column about Trump authorizing and signing an EO and then getting it out so we have time for Democrat appeals, and then we have time for a Supreme Court expedited ruling. And I did, and then he pushed me to send it to President Trump, and I did. And then he pushed me to send a text to President Trump. I've got his cell phone, and I did. And literally 3 days after I announced it on TV, President Trump announced that he was signing the EO, which is the best thing we've got, much better than the SAVE Act. John Goodman, who's my election expert and Steve's election expert, will tell you much better than the SAVE Act, because this EU is really strict about mail-in voting, mail-in ballots, and it's tied in the Social Security Administration with being the final arbiter of who gets to vote and who doesn't. If you don't have a proper Social Security number, the state sends all the voters, and if they're not registered at Social Security, they're not voting. So it's a really good executive order, much better than the SAVE Act. So we got to get it approved by the Supreme Court. The good news is I told Trump on a text, you need to sign it now. Do not wait for the SAVE Act, because we need, it'll be sued, it'll be appealed again, and then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. We got to get all that done before the midterms. You got to sign it in March. He signed it on the last day of March, 3 days after my opening TV commentary on America's Top 10 Countdown, and about 5 days after I texted him and told him he's got to, this has to happen. So that's good news. The CNN report that we're ahead for the midterms is great news. And then I want to tell you about some other situations going on. First of all, I'm laughing about voter ID because we all know you need it for everything. The Obama Library. Do you know they have a contest to get in free on opening night to the Obama Library? And in order to enter the contest, you have to show proof of citizenship. Could Obama get into his own library? These things are incredible. Democrats just lie and lie and lie. Their nose must be like Pinocchio. It's truly amazing. So, or Dorian Gray, on the inside, they must all be rotting because they're communist fraud liars about everything. So on the outside, they may look good. On the inside, they must be rotting to the core. But you need ID and you need proof of citizenship to get into a contest just to go to Obama's opening night at his presidential library, which, by the way, is a gigantic boondoggle with major cost overruns, typical, and is the ugliest thing anyone's ever seen. So I thought that was funny. And then I wanted to mention something I think has gotten by most people. What do we just have a minute left here?
Yeah.
Colorado, where Tina Peters is imprisoned, which is obviously the most terrible thing ever. And several people have asked me to mention that Victor Marx is running in Colorado for governor. And he was just asked about Tina Peters. And he said he doesn't agree that she should be let out of prison. He wouldn't help her get out of prison. That's what people have texted me and emailed me and told me to mention on the air. So just make sure that you check out Marx versus Scott Bottoms, who's a state representative, both running for governor. See whose opinions are that we got to get Tina Peters out and vote accordingly for the guy who supports Tina Peters and vote against the guy who doesn't. Just make sure about that. And last but not least, Steve, Colorado is now forcing lawyers to sign their life away that they will not cooperate with ICE in any way, shape, or form, or they lose access to the legal computer system of the state of Colorado. They're asking lawyers to break the law and aid and abet illegal aliens. Colorado at this point is a lost state between Tina Peters, the stolen elections, and now this. It's a lost state, very sad, but we could still win the midterms, and I think we will if a few things break right. RootForAmerica.com is my website, my TV show, America's Top 10 Countdown, and my daily 2-hour podcast, War Zone Live. Find all of it at RootForAmerica.com, WayneRoot@gmail.com. God bless you for everything you do, Steve. We love and appreciate you.
So we got one thing we need you to text President Trump about.
Yes.
And that is get rid of the machines.
Yes,
Because-
get rid of the machines.
Yeah, because those votes coming in and they go in the machine, we don't know what it's going to say when they come out. So even if we,
I'll do it. I'll do it. He knows. He's aware. And I texted him last week, get rid of Pam Bondi. Right away, today, 2 hours later, he fired Pam Bondi. Now, was that me, or did I push him over the top, or did he even see it? I don't know. But I think I helped. I hope I pushed him over the top, because Pam Bondi was terrible. No arrests of terrible deep state and Democrat thieves and frauds and traitors. No arrests of any kind. We got to change that. I hope he comes up with the right attorney general. I've given him some good suggestions, and we'll see. WayneRoot@gmail.com. I love to read your email. Send me an email. RootForAmerica.com. Thanks, Steve.
And you know, Wayne Root always returns emails if he can, which is unbelievable.
I do.
Because he is on the radio probably 2 hours a day, on TV 2 hours a day, round the clock. If people want to come and listen to your show, how do they do that?
Easiest way is just go to RootForAmerica.com, and at the top it says watch Wayne on TV, watch Wayne's podcast, listen to Wayne's podcast, listen to Wayne's radio show. Click in any one of the 4 tabs, and you're either listening or watching, or it shows you how. RootForAmerica.com, WayneRoot@gmail.com. Thank you, Steve. God bless you.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Next up is Braden Giacobazzi, and he's an election expert from Michigan.
Hi there, Steve. Thanks for having me. Following some heavy hitters here, and I see some friendly faces in the chat. Thank you for having me. I wanted to talk today. It's funny that Wayne brought up machines here at the end, because you have these establishment types, these fakes in the party and elsewhere that claim they want election integrity, but they want to give you as little as possible just to satisfy your taste without actually solving the problem. So one of the things we see in our party is that here in Michigan, I'm from Michigan, and I've worked in election integrity for the last 5-6 years with some of the people on this call. And what we notice is that now they'll admit that maybe there's fraud and we just have to eliminate mail-in ballots and that'll solve everything. And obviously that's not true. And one of the things that we caught here in Michigan was a new voting system, a data system. And can I share my screen, Steve?
Yep.
Okay. So we found a new system here that they're trying to push within the Republican Party that snuck its way in like a Trojan horse here. To manage election data. And these are people that claim that they want election integrity. And they'll go on news broadcasts and say, look, we've implemented this system. It's so transparent. Well, what is the system? The system is called Cyvera, and it's a system that will manage your ballot images after an election, and it will also manage qualified voter files and those sorts of things. It's a suite of software, and in Michigan we've installed 2 of their pieces of software, and their number of software that they have, the numbers of them seems to grow. And so eventually I assume they're going to be one of these all-in-one systems that can pretty much control everything. And just like George Orwell says, if you control the present, you control the past, and you'll have no history because they will be in control of it. Now, what Cyvera does in Michigan right now, it snuck its way in with a Republican clerk. This wasn't the Democrats, and they snuck their way in by saying, we will manage your ballot images for you. So during an election, your tabulator, your machine that you shouldn't have, but you do, it should be taking an image of every ballot. Well, when you FOIA for that image, you expect to be getting that image, the actual image from the election. But no. What you're actually going to be getting in this part of Michigan, as in 10 other states around the country right now and growing, you're going to be getting a a different file format. So the image that's spit out by that machine should be what's called a TIFF file. It doesn't matter what that is. What it matters is that the original file is in one format, and then you will get a lower quality file put out in a PDF format, which is just a basic document format. And then, so you won't be able to know that it's the same file, but also it will have metadata stripped out, such as timestamps, which would be some of the only things you could actually use to verify that it's an actual ballot. So when you FOIA this data, people will be going in thinking how open and honest and fair and transparent their clerk is. In reality, all they've gotten is a firewall between them and their own public data. And what's terrible about that is that you can't FOIA it. It's like an NGO, this company. And so whoever is on the board, whatever the transactions are, where the funding's coming from, who's being messaged, right? Is he talking directly with the Open Society Foundation, which we'll get into in a second? You'll never be able to FOIA that. The only person you can actually FOIA is your clerk, and maybe glean some tertiary data from that. So that's a problem. So who is Cyvera? Well, Cyvera was created by a man named Adam Friedman. Now, today he claims to be a very unbiased source who creates this company who just wants free and fair elections, and that might be true. However, if you look at his background, it's pretty diabolical. So what we have here is he's the founder of a group called Voter Choice Massachusetts, which advocates for open primaries and election day registration. It has supporters of Ayanna Pressley, who was part of the squad with AOC and those people, Ilhan Omar. You have Elizabeth Warren supporting it. You have all of these leftist organizations, such as SEIU, several of them. You can see here, if you zoom in, the Green Rainbow Party is supporting it, immigrant and refugee advocacy coalitions, and Common Cause Massachusetts, which will come into play in a second here too. So that's one group that he founded. He's not just a member, he's not just on the board, but he founded it. But he also founded a group called Rank the Vote, which is its primary function is to push ranked choice voting. And now, not only does it push ranked choice voting, which is what every communist organization and globalist organization is pushing for, because it makes your election system so much more complicated, so much more expensive, so then it becomes more centralized and then controlled, and it can be gained by wealthy people who understand statistics and how to game multi-round voting systems. But so he didn't just found this organization, but he also wrote a national playbook that many organizations use to push ranked choice voting around the country. This is his claim to fame. He also pushed open primary and same-day registration. And he's also an advocate for a group called the Brennan Center for Justice. He's also a supporter of theirs, and they support election day registration too. Now, the Brennan Center for Justice is kind of like this incubator, this think tank, where they come up with these nice flowery sounding ideas for why you shouldn't be in control of your elections. They push for DEI advocacy, social justice, abolishing the Electoral College, national popular vote, racial and gender dynamics on the Supreme Court and courts in general. They actually were the incubator over here for for our director of elections here in Michigan, Jonathan Brader, who claimed to fame at the Brennan Center was to write 2 papers about why you shouldn't be able to clean up your voter rolls and why there was this very promising organization that was formed called ERIC that should be put in charge of your election materials. And he just so happened to end up being the chairman of that board eventually. Now, so who else is Adam Friedman? So Adam Friedman created those 2 organizations. He's pushed ranked choice voting for a decade. Then he founds this organization. But what else was he? He was also a board member of Common Cause, right? Common Cause is tied deeply into the Soros Network and the Open Society Foundation. In fact, if you go from Common Cause Massachusetts, where he was the board member of, if you go to the parent NGO, Common Cause, Robert Reich is actually the chair emeritus of that board, and it's tied to Arabella investors and all these people that are directly tied to the Open Society. But that's not all, right? This Adam Friedman guy who founded Cyvera, which he claims is nonpartisan, he was also a former board member of Mass Vote. So between all of these organizations in Michigan, right, Common Cause was actually the pusher of Prop 2 and Prop 3, which are in 2018 and 2022. These 2 proposals were signed into law, and they have devastated our election system with voting boxes, right? The drop-off boxes, mail-in voting, and all this nonsense that has made our elections so much more expensive, complicated, and difficult to understand and to adjudicate. In addition, right, they have all of these, very similar supporters for their organization. So they also, they also have ties to the No Kings with Common Cause, which is, I guess, pretty apropos now. But if you look at Mass Vote, which he was a board member of, they are funded by a group called the Herman and Frida Miller Foundation. And if you go to them, they also support the Chinese Progressive Organization, which supports CCP officials. Now, this company claims to be unbiased. Maybe it is. But why are Republican candidates and Democrats all flocking towards this when people like the 100 people on this call, election integrity experts around the country, are banging on the doors of all of these Secretary of State candidates, all these Senate candidates, all these governor candidates, all the local candidates for clerk? We're banging on the door trying to show them how to run a clean election, the simple things you can do that are almost free, that will put you in connection with the data and keep your constituents in connection with your data. But somehow this guy is somehow finding his way to the top of the heap while all of these public officials ignore us. And that's what I want to highlight here today, is just Severa, because if you look at it, it seems like it's a Trojan horse with ties to Eric, because he's a big supporter of Eric, obviously, right? And you can see that Pew Charitable Trust, they supported Eric, they founded Eric, and they also happen to be on the board of Jocelyn Benson, who is our Secretary of State, who's famously corrupt, right? So we have all kinds of actions here, and it's something that bizarrely was never looked into, apparently, by many of these Republican and Democrat clerks and secretaries of states in multiple states. So I wanted to bring that to people's attention today, and I can take some questions. You can find a very succinct video that I strongly encourage all of you to view on my X account at Michigan Braden. It's right near the top. It takes 5 minutes to watch the whole thing, and it summarizes everything with visuals, audio, and everything for people who don't understand it, so they can see that there's a firewall being put up between them and their data. And like I said before, when you put a firewall up here, you think you're getting free stuff. You think it's going to be free. It's not free. First of all, to run Michigan, based on the numbers they gave, it's probably $1 million per year if they did the whole state. But secondly, it's a black box system, just like a Dominion voting machine, right? Just like an ES&S machine, just like any of these NGOs, you can't FOIA it. So when you're FOIAing data, it's a sleight of hand.
Braden, 1 minute.
Problem.
Yep.
It's a sleight of hand where you think you're getting one thing and you're getting another. So I'll take questions now if you have any.
Yeah, they don't have questions, but thank you very much. Our next guest, Tina Peters' lawyer. We had to get him last because he was busy all day. I want to bring on John Case. Thank you for coming on. You want to unmute?
John, go ahead and unmute. Unmute button will be on the bottom. There you go. Great. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be with you all. So I visit Tina every Thursday, and I visited her last week and showed her the Court of Appeals opinion. We went through it. And for those of you who don't know, the Colorado Court of Appeals said that Tina was illegally sentenced because the judge who sentenced her condemned her speech. She was criticizing the Dominion voting system in Colorado. He disagreed with her opinion of it, and he said that she was peddling snake oil and was a liar and a charlatan, and that's why he denied bond on appeal and sentenced her to 9 years in prison. So even the Colorado Court of Appeals recognized that you can't put someone in prison for their speech. So for those of you who want to follow Tina, if you go to her website, tinapeters.us, that's tinapeters.us, and sign up for emails, you'll see some very interesting stuff coming out in the very near future. I think Tina is going to be back on the air, and she'll have a lot to say about the voting system. I fully agree with Braden, and I was glad to see him talking because these machines are a menace to our freedom. The Bexar County, Texas problem that surfaced February the 19th showed that there was some kind of illegal interference in the list of people who voted, because they found 4,100 phony names, 4,100 phony voter ID numbers, and 4,100 voter addresses in the list of people who voted on February 18, 2026 in Bexar County in the Texas primary. And then you have the situation in Riverside, California, where the sheriff seized the ballots because, according to the county clerk, there were 611,000 ballots. But there was only one issue on the ballot, and that issue was, do we have redistricting? Vote yes, or not redistricting, vote no. So a single ballot with a single question on it. But there were 655,000 votes reported, tallied by the clerk on the computer voting system. So how can you have 611,000 ballots with a single issue on it, and the machines record 655,000 votes? It's impossible unless the machines are generating phony votes. So I don't know if Steve just signaled me that I'm done.
No, you got time.
Okay, so we know that the machines are susceptible, and we know that in 2026, there has been outside interference in our elections in Texas and California through the computer voting system. So why we would continue to use these voting systems makes no sense. Why would anyone use a system that was developed in Venezuela to rig elections? I personally took the sworn testimony of one of the Venezuelan whistleblowers who worked for the government. His job was to run the Situation Room, and he personally saw 1.2 million phony votes injected into the election in 2013, where Maduro got elected. He was the government candidate. His opponent was ahead by 1 million votes at 10 o'clock in the morning. The people running the election, who were all government and military people, said, put 1.2 million votes in for Maduro. And because of that, Maduro won. And he couldn't ever be dislodged from power until President Trump removed him by military force. So once you get in through these elected systems, there's no way to get out. And if we use these systems to count votes in 2026 midterms, my prediction is we're going to lose the midterms, because there's no way to see what happens inside these machines. The machine says Biden won, or the Republicans lost in Colorado. Again, you can't tell. There's no way to look inside the machine. In Colorado, audits are illegal. You can't audit unless the Secretary of State orders it. The Secretary of State is a Democrat and a political enemy of Tina. She's never going to order an audit of an election. So we're doomed if we use these machines. What is the alternative? Hand count the ballots in the precincts. When I got to Colorado, when I got out of the Navy in 1970, I cast my first vote in 1972. I went to my precinct. I showed my driver's license. They checked me in. They gave me a ballot. I filled out the ballot in a private, secluded place. And I took the marked ballot and I put it in a slot right in front of an election judge. They marked me as having voted, and I left. They had those votes counted, and they knew who won every race in the election by 10 p.m. Because in a precinct, you're only counting 1,500 to 2,000 ballots. A team of 20 election judges can do that in 4 hours, and then you know the results that night. It's perfectly feasible to do. But the computer companies and the Democrats don't want elections to be run that way. Those elections, when you hand count, are almost impossible to rig because if you want to cheat, you have to cheat in every precinct, which is impossible. Now, if you want to cheat in Denver, Colorado, you can rig the system that's going to count 600,000 ballots. So you only need to rig it in one place, and you only need to affect the result by 2% to win to rig a close election. So that's why we need to get rid of the machines.
John, a couple of questions. People are asking, when will the resentencing be? How long will it take?
Well, so first of all, the opinion of the Court of Appeals that ordered resentencing is not final for 42 days until the date of the opinion, which was April 2nd. So now we're talking mid-May. We go back to the trial court for resentencing, and then that process can take a while. And if we don't like the new sentence, then we have to go back to the Colorado Court of Appeals and appeal the new sentence.
Next thing they're asking is do you think the governor will pardon her or whatever he can do?
Well, I really appreciate that question, Steve, because it would be very courageous for Governor Polis to commute Tina's sentence to time served. But it would show that Governor Polis is a man who does the right thing. And he's not afraid of the extreme left wing of his party, which wants Tina to die in prison. The governor himself has said her sentence was excessive and unfair. Just like Tina, that person got probation. What's the difference between the two people? Tina's a Republican and very outspoken on elections. That person's a Democrat and has the inside track with the judiciary. So she got probation. Completely unfair. And Governor Polis recognized that. And if he did the right thing and commuted Tina's sentence, people would see, the citizens of Colorado would see, hey, Jared Polis is a fair guy and he's not afraid to do the right thing. So we hope and pray that he does.
People are asking what they can do to help Tina.
Appreciate that question too, Steve. Go to tinapeters.us, tinapeters.us. You can get the latest information on her case, and you can contribute to her legal fund, which we always appreciate.
Also, they want to know how they can reach you in case they have any suggestions or need information.
You can reach me at brief, BRIEF, at johncaslaw.com.
John, thank you very much. We got to run because we got to be off here in about 3 minutes. So thank you very much for coming on, and we'll have you on again to update Tina. We'll try to call the governor to ask him for leniency for her. Everybody here loves her. You know, would you please, when you speak to her, let everybody know they keep asking about her.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will tell her, Steve. I talked to her when I was talking to her Saturday on the phone. I said, you know, if you become outspoken again, somebody could off you in the penitentiary. They pay people to do that. And I am not afraid to die. I am more concerned about Americans losing their freedom. So
thank you.
It's an honor to represent Tina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we came to the close today. Our next Zoom will be on the 30th of April. It'll be a precinct project, USA.org. We're asking everybody to sign up for that. This is very important. We spent 3 months working on this. 6 months before that, I will speak to General Flynn to help us tomorrow. If you would like to get a flag shirt, I see my co-host wearing his great flag shirt. Go to theflagshirt.com, www.theflagshirt.com. We appreciate everybody coming on. It was a long day today. Raj, you want to close it up?
Yes, thank you. So again, friends, thanks for being on the call. And those of you that are watching this on the live stream, thanks for being on that. Again, this event takes a lot of effort. So please go to theflagshirt.com. You can see the website there. And if you already have a shirt, get another one, because this is a whole new line of of gifts that are available. Look at these fabulous items you can buy for men and women. So be sure to check that out. Also, for those of you that are asking how do you get the recording of this call, very easy. Go to sternamerican.com, click the Rumble channel. Click the Rumble channel right there. That's what I do. That's the easiest way to do it. And all the videos are listed here. Anything that's live, like this one, click on the live video right here. And you can see it right here. You can actually see 9,700, almost 10,000 views just on this particular episode that you guys are on. And then when it goes to the network of podcasters, that number is just going to explode exponentially. So there's a big volume here. So Steve, Anthony, and the team, thank you for putting all this together. Thanks for all your hard work. And most importantly, thanks for being here. And thank you in advance for sharing this video, the link, the information to people in the network. We've got to get the word out. Back to you, Steve.
Don't forget Melissa. Melissa's going to be going on vacation, so we're going to all take a little break. Today was a very tough one. You know, a lot of people don't realize what you and I go through. We got to make sure everybody's going to come on. You never know who can, have a problem with their voice. And you heard we had to get somebody else on. So I'm behind the scenes, and Raj behind the scene, calling, texting, round the clock. It takes a huge amount of effort from all our people to put this on. And I got to say, it all came out terrific. We had everybody on. And that is a terrific thing, because you never know if General Flynn can make it, or Wayne, or any of our people get called out, and many things happen. We want to thank everybody who's come on. We're looking at about 8 million people today. We have over 75 different podcasters, OBBM Network, the War Room, which we have to get off here now because Steve Bannon's going to be coming on. He's one of our great supporters, along with John Fredericks and many other people that are supporting us, or we wouldn't be able to get the views. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good week. And hopefully everybody had a great Easter and a great Passover, and all the best to everybody. Action, action, action. Take care.